Mhm.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for the Jamaica Midlife Health Society's webinar today. It's my pleasure to say thank you to everyone for joining and hand you over promptly to our moderators for today's session. Our moderators are, of course, Dr. Arna J. Brown Morgan and Dr. Lisa Kervin Dawes. Ladies, have a wonderful day.
Ladies and gentlemen, medical colleagues, physicians, I am Dr. Arna Brown Morgan, family physician and Vice President of the Jamaica Midlife Health Society, JMHS. Today, we have invited you to share our second conference for year 2025 and to experience and discuss what we call the Midlife Reset, the challenges, strategies, and solutions. Where am I? Where exactly am I? This meeting is open to everyone, the midlifers, the elderly, and the young. It is free to attend, and there is a small fee for physicians requesting continuing medical education credits. This conference has 2 sessions. I am your moderator for the first session, and the ever-charming Dr. Lisa Kervin Dawes will moderate the second session. Please relax, but be attentive as we open this conference with prayers, shared with us at this time by Mr. Alton Lawrence. Welcome, Mr. Lawrence. Over to you.
Thank you. Good morning. Are you able to hear me?
Sure.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Okay. Afternoon. Wonderful. Special greetings are extended to Dr. William Brown, President of the Jamaica Midlife Society, Vice President, Dr. Arnold Brown Morgan, Assistant Vice President, Dr. Angela Mattis, our moderators for this afternoon, and all members in attendance. Let us all pray at this time. Heavenly Father, once again, we, your children, come before you. For you bid us come to find grace and mercy to help in time of need. Indeed, we are confident, Lord, that as we come, we shall find strength in you, even as you have instructed us that men ought always to pray and not to faint. Lord, as we come, we give thanks for life and liberty. We thank you, Lord, for the freedom in our nation, and pray for those set to lead us, that you would grant them true wisdom from above. We thank you, Lord, for the founders and management of the Jamaica Midlife Health Society, and for the opportunity to hold this symposium today in the interest of the citizens of Jamaica, land we love. Today, Lord, we explore the subject of midlife health. We ask for your divine presence and direction as we acknowledge you as both the giver and the sustainer of life. Heavenly Father, we are grateful that you have seen it fit to impress on the minds of the organizers of this event the importance of embracing the challenges, strategies, and solutions required to reset our lives or improve and sustain the health. We are mindful, Lord, that healthy people make a healthy nation, and we therefore ask for your blessings upon today's activities. Bless, Lord, our sponsors. Guide our moderators as they lead the various sessions. Lord, we ask that you will inspire our presenters who shall be imparting vital information critical to the reset strategy. And Lord, bless all members in attendance. As we receive, so let us absorb, and so let us practice the lessons presented today. Lord, for these and all other mercies, we give you thanks in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence, so very much for those erudite and necessary, needed, welcoming words. In Jesus' name, amen. We now ask Dr. William Brown, President of the Jamaica Midlife Health Society, to welcome everyone this evening and to bring greetings. Dr. Brown will also introduce our guest speaker, Professor Marvin Reid, and declare the conference open. Dr. William Brown, welcome.
Thank you very much, Anna. You're looking fabulous as usual. Welcome. Okay, to my duties now. To our patron, the Honorary Marigold Harding, the presenters, the sponsors, the technical team, and all attendees to this thought-provoking webinar symposium. I bring you greetings on behalf of the Executive Committee of the JMHS. We have seen a great growth trajectory of our society in recent times. As our social landscape enlarges, our mandate from the Medical Association of Jamaica, and under whose auspices we fall, is effectively reaching the targeted section of our population. Now, with a resilient Secretariat energetic ExCom, we were able to reach our highest webinar attendees count of over 600 at our first webinar symposium held in March of this year, which was entitled Maximizing My Brain Health and Capacity. Now, if you had missed that one, then you better buckle up for an engaging and challenging session today, which would explore midlife reset, the challenges, the strategies, and the solutions. Where am I? We hope our carefully chosen topics would continue to draw persons from all walks of life to continue benefiting from information shared here on improving our lives, especially at midlife and beyond. Today, we would go beyond health matters and touch a bit of finances at the midlife and beyond. In fact, the breakdown topics will delve into three parts: and attempt to reset our lives from 3 different angles. 1, physical health and well-being reset. 2, financial reset. 3, psychosocial reset. It is said that it's never too late for a shower of rain. So if these topics are challenging you, look out for the strategies to overcome them and apply the solutions to your life, because in our mundane world, things may and go wrong and may create unnecessary anxieties, often preventable ill health, financial woes, and psychosocial problems. So I welcome all present and invite you to sit relaxed, listen carefully, and learn as much as you can as you apply the solutions to life's journey, which is full of many resets for future success. Thank you very much, and I welcome all of you. Thank you. Professor Marvin Reid, who is going to open our webinar, is the president-elect of the Medical Association of Jamaica. Prof. Reid is an experienced physician and serves on the Family Medicine Specialty Board that oversees the Family Medicine Training Program at the University of the West Indies. In addition to his private family physician practice, he is the Deputy Dean, Research Faculty of Medical Sciences, and former Director of Tropical Metabolism Research and Sickle Cell Units. Prof. Reid is a distinguished researcher with over 150 published articles in medical journals and is a recipient of numerous awards, both locally and internationally, for his medical research. Additionally, he is chairman of the Caribbean College of Family Physicians as the regional group, a past president of the North American chapter of the World Organization of Family Doctors, we call it WONCA, as well as past chair of WONCA's membership committee, and member of American Physiological Society, the American Society for Parenteral and Enteral Nutrition, and a past president of the Rotary Club of New Kingston. Prof. Marvin Reid, the audience, Prof. Take over from here, Prof.
Okay. Good day, colleagues. So initially, I thought I was just going to be giving greetings as part of my contributions to today's deliberations, but clearly I'm expected to be giving a talk, but that's fine. Don't worry, I can always find something to talk about. So it was interesting when I was actually going through your brochure, William. I saw that you were brave enough, or the Jamaica Midlife Association was brave enough to put some numbers to their definition of midlife. And I saw where the numbers reflected an age range of 35, thereabout, to about 60. And the World Health Organization age range reflected somewhere between 45 and 60. So what that basically means is now that I've had all of these gray hairs, that I've graduated from the midlife region. So with that, I'm very, very happy to have actually made it through that point of my life course. Colleagues, one of the things we recognize as family physicians is that one of our responsibility is really to assist individuals as we move through the life course from before birth all the way through childhood, young adults, midlife age, and the elderly. And so with that privilege, we recognize that we often have to deal with everyone in terms of their health and the whole concept of wellness, where we think about not only the physical component, but the spiritual and social construct as well. One of the things that I'm going to be spending a few minutes discussing, because strategies that are emerging that will allow us to enjoy better health is that of cancer. So I'm going to just do a quick share of my screen. Let's just bring this up. Okay, yeah. Just give me a few minutes to just getting this up and running. Okay, there we go. Oops, 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 oops. Yeah. All right, good. So let's just go learn quickly for the next few minutes that you have me here for. All right, so briefly, because I'm not sure the distribution of our audience in terms of technical versus non-technical, I'm going to be somewhere in between in terms of my pitch. And so for those who are technically inclined, we can just still use this as a refresher. So typically doctors and physicians and healthcare providers like to talk about something called a risk factor. And the good thing about risk factors is that these are factors that can change the chances or probability of you getting a particular condition. So it can either increase it or it can decrease it. And in decreasing it, we say that that's a protective kind of a factor. So when we think about it, what we know is that cancers are usually things that are cells or tissues that are growing without much control. They have their own ideas of how things are to go. And what we're understanding is that even when we think about a single cancer, whether it be breast or lung or prostate or any one of the tissues, within that, there are actually multiple versions. And so we recognize that it is not a single disease. Oftentimes as clinicians, and you'll hear the public health people speak about the impact of it. And really what we're talking about here is a unit or entity that they call a DALI. So what they're saying is that if you're supposed to live until, say, 60, and something happens and you die at 40, then there are 20 years that you could have contributed to society. And so what we have done is that years that you would have contributed to society, we have put some numbers to it. And that number is what we call your DALI, which is your disability adjusted life years. So the other things that sometimes you will come across is doctors and the public people, the World Health Organization, talk about age standardized death rates or mortality rates. And here what we're saying is that depending on the mix, so if you have a community that has a lot of persons who are in the older age group versus another community that has people who are in the younger age group, then you can compare the actual frequencies of cancers directly. Because one of the things we recognize is they're going to differ. So in order we have to we standardize it against a distribution, which we've used for purposes of age distribution. And so that way it becomes more easier to make the comparisons across communities. So if you guys rate for cancer of 10, and another that has an age standardized rate the same cancer as 5, then we could say that cancer is twice as common in 1 with 10. Just to say, go through life course, especially during adulthood and later on, there are a couple of things that we find that are not so good for us. Top 5 causes are going to be alcohol, things related to diet, tobacco, being fat, and of course, air pollution. Many of us in the Caribbean experienced the Saharan dust not too long ago, and we recognize that continued exposure to incidents like those are not going to be very good for us. Just to say that when we look at the Caribbean across the world, we recognize that there are many things that we do in our life that is going to enhance the risk of us developing this bad condition. And they include things like alcohol, drug use, poor diets, and poor physical activities, as well as our occupation. And the same process looks when we look at it from a death rate perspective. So this brings us to what are things that we can do. So here I've put some of the key drivers for individuals getting, not on cancers, but any one of the chronic diseases that you can think of, hypertension, diabetes, and so on. And it's really an interplay between what we eat, and I've put that centrally, what are the things in the environment, and some intrinsic issues related to us. So let's talk about some of the environmental things. So we think about our culture, what are our personal beliefs, what are the things we like to eat, what are the things we like to do, how do we prepare the foods, climate change, government policies, and this is one of the things that the Jamaica Midlife Association can help with, is really to advocate, participate whenever these green papers, white papers that comes about, looking at things like school nutrition policy, looking at things like how do you legislate tobacco, looking at things like food labeling, how do you participate in terms of what the agricultural practices are, so that at the end of the day, when you go to the market and purchase your food, you can say that the food is free from all manner of chemicals. So these are important activities. How do we assist both ourselves or the communities to prepare food in a proper way? Then we look at intrinsic things. These are more the biological things, which are the genes that you have inherited from your parents. But there's some intrinsic things that you have control over. Stress, your own lifestyle. Do you smoke? Do you drink? What sort of physical activity do you have? What are the bugs that are in your stomach, which is what we call the symbiotic things. And some of us, notwithstanding a perfect lifestyle, will still end up getting some disease, and that will impact how we work. An important concept, even though we're at the midlife phase, is that in order to reach that midlife phase, you have to start somewhere. And so what we're saying is that all the preceding phases are important to get to that midlife phase. And some of the things that we think about in the periconceptional period influences actually diseases that we are going to be manifested at the midlife stage. So that's a strange and perhaps beauty about all of this concept. So we know, for example, and this slide is really relatively busy, just it tells us that from the moment you're an egg to when you actually become the first few cells of a baby, it's actually a very complex process. And during that complex process, a lot of things can go wrong. And just the exposure to the environment, just the exposure of the mom, the exposure of the dad can influence what actually comes when we're in our 40s and 30s. And this is a more summative idea of what we call the periconception and disease risk. We recognize that health ministries and health professionals worldwide have been singing a bit of an alarm to say that many populations are now undergoing stagnation. They're not growing as much as they are because there's not enough, the fertility rate has fallen, and there are not enough infants being born to replace the generation. So Jamaica had that conversation not too long ago, but it's not a unique or peculiar conversation to Jamaica. One of the things we recognize is that as we look to enhance those strategies using assisted reproductive treatment, we have to be cognizant of the fact that nutrition and other environmental health issues around the periconception will manifest itself as diseases in mid-adulthood if we're not very careful. And here what I've done is just put on the slide some of the key factors that we have to be cognizant of, both at the male level as well as the female level, as we think about some of the strategies that we may wish to do in the future. These next few slides is really just to explain the whole concept of epigenetics. So what we're saying here is that it's just not only your genes, that is the DNA code that you have, but whether or not that DNA code is read and translated into a particular molecule. And what's the advantage of this? Well, it provides us with a new avenue to provide some amount of treatment for individuals, which I'll mention later on in a few minutes. This is just a definition of what we meant by epigenetics, meaning that you can have permanent transmittable variations in individuals without altering the code itself. But what you have done is alter the way the code is expressed. And we can do that by doing some chemical changes to the DNA called DNA methylation, as well as you could have variations in what we call the molecules that actually reads the code, which is your mRNA. All right, so you can end up with the proteins that's modified. And this is really the agouti mice that explained that this is not a conceptual thing, but also something that we can reproduce in the lab. So quick things that I just want to mention is that oftentimes individuals get a bit confused because doctors seems to be flip-flopping. One minute we may say you're not supposed to eat eggs, and then the next minute we're saying, yes, you can eat eggs. One minute we may say that a particular chemical is good for you, and the next minute we come and we say something is bad for you. We see all that story playing out a lot with the vaccines. And so one of the things I just wanted to be clear on is that in medicine, especially when we're looking at complex traits, causation is very difficult to prove. And this is the Bradford Hilt criteria for causation, which says that roughly for any association, you think about 9 different things that has to be consistent across time and across the literature for us to say that things has caused A has caused B. And so what you'd find is that different experiments may be strong on one point and may be weak on the other. And so it usually takes us time to make the definitive statements in science. Now, the lay population and the media may not like the time, and so they may jump on a particular bandwagon. But in true scientific terms, we have to be cautious and we have to be speaking within the concept that a lot of times there's really no certain evidence. And so what we may often say is that things may be associated at this time. As more and more evidence come, we may say associations have moved to causations. There are a couple of things we need to be cognizant of in the Caribbean. One of them is the sun. We are a tropical island, but we can actually get damage to our skins from the scans, even though we're Black people, most of us. We also have to worry about things like air pollutions now. And of course, those of us like in Jamaica, Guyana, where there's industry, we have to worry about chemical pollutions from the industrial bauxite in the case of Jamaica, as one of the things that we have to worry about. And this is just a listing of various chemicals that are not good for us. Those of us who work, depending on our occupation and the industry that we work, we may be subjected to these more than others. But one of the groups now that I think we need to spend attention to is our aesthetic group, because a lot of them work with very aromatic and volatile chemicals, and we may have to be spending some attention on them just to see what health effects, if any, they are on. Another thing which is dear to my heart is the whole issue of how we grow foods. And so one of the things we recognize is that even though, and what this experiment says, even though you may not directly work in the farm and work with pesticide, but if you live in a community for which there is an adjacent sets of farms and so on, for which pesticide use is high, it actually does increases your risk of having adverse health effects. So one of the things we need to do is to ensure that as a group, we consistently look at the farming practices that are practiced within our region and within our community. And this is just a few things. How do you help yourself, especially when you're in your midlife, when you're very critical? You need to ensure that you empower yourself. You know what it is if you're in an industrial area or a thing that uses a lot of chemicals, whether it be a machinist or a mechanic or so on. You need to ensure that you educate yourself about what kind of chemicals that you may be exposed to. And of course, if you're going to be doing any barbecuing and grilling, we always say you try and do that on the outdoors. Another key elements that we can do help us to reset is physical activities. This is a study from our Jamaica Health and Lifestyle Survey, which basically says that roughly about 30% of our males and females are engaged in low physical activities. And when we look at what are some of the public health strategies that we can employ to encourage, we know the Jamaica Moves is one thing, but one of the things we looked at not too long ago between myself and my colleague, Dr. Colin and Mary, was whether or not if we put in the appropriate infrastructure, whether individuals would use it. And so we spent some time looking at the utilization of one of our major parks, which is the Emancipation Park, whether or not there are features of it that promote physical movements and activity. And what we found was, yes, on a Saturday or Sunday, most people tend to use the park, so that's a good day of the week. And I'm supposing it's because of the fact that more people are not physically working on Saturdays and Sundays. And this is the same whether you're male or female. And when we looked at the amount of energy expenditure that was expended, we found that generally males tended to be a little bit more vigorous in their activities and expended a little bit more energies. And when we looked at what are the attributes of the park that encourage people to use it and to be engaged in physical activities, we found that there are certain park attributes such as how it looked, the maintenance, the security, and having paved trails to walk. Now, as we get older, one of the challenges we have in exercise is, of course, the fact that a lot of us will end up with arthritic-related pains. And so having paved, structured, will actually facilitate us using or doing a little bit more exercise rather than just having a plain field or even just a raw road with no sidewalks. I think would benefit us some more there. Another thing that affects us being able to move and exercise in the Jamaican context is really the perception of crime within our communities. So what this slide just says is that communities that have a high perception of crime generally tend to have more of the non-communicable diseases, the hypertension, the diabetes, the obesity, and so on. And so one of the big public health strategies, which we may not think about, which is impacting our health, is really we have to spend some attention to how do we improve security of our neighborhoods, because that in itself will redound not only to the lower stress level, lower physical injury, but also promotes physical activity and therefore reduce these other non-communicable diseases. Overweight
1 minute
and obesity
left, Prof.
is a big issue.
1 minute
Yeah,
left.
man, soon finish. And so the big question is how much exercise should individuals be engaged in as they get older? And the big way to do it is to use what we call a MET table. These are freely available on the web, and these are allows us to assess the amount of energy that you'll get doing any degree of physical activity. And what you'll do is that you'll reduce your risk of dying from any of the preceding sets of things that I spoke to you about. And this particular experiment that I'm going to report, which is the last thing, really says that even when you have a disease, and this is a report of individuals who had colon cancer, had a resection, and what they did was to put those individuals on a detailed exercise program, and another group that didn't have this detailed exercise program. And at the end of the day, the folks that had the detailed exercise program lived much longer, and therefore I had less recurrence of cancer. So it means that even when you have disease, if you can actually proceed on a detailed exercise program, you will do the benefit. Now, in order to do that, one has to accept that individual has to be at the appropriate level of change. And so we have to modulate how we do our things to ensure that individuals are willing to participate in these exercise activities and continually do them. And so I've summarized and close to say that, health is in our hands. We need to know what to do. One of the key drivers of that is physical activities. This is the amount of physical activity that I would recommend that you need to do to remain healthy, irrespective of your age, whether you're young, old, or in between. All right? Don't smoke or don't drink, because those always end up with you dying. All right. So the long and short is that we need all three groups of individuals, you as the individual patients, healthcare providers, but the environmental policies in order to ensure that you have good outcomes. And I close here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Marvin Reid. From, what is it now, from our DALI, the concept of DALI, through to METS, and inclusive of the periconceptional period, the whole idea of the nutrition, the environment, and the personal intrinsic matters. The circle of our life experience has been well expressed here, well shown here, and introduced in a new conceptual way. I guess the One Health plus healthy lifestyles, everything coming together. Dealing with health is now a different ball game. It's not unidirectional or bidirectional. It's a circle. It's all inclusive. Prof, we thank you so very, very much for speaking to us today on this matter of healthy resets. You've certainly showed us the reset, and it's a big one. Thank you. At this time, we'd like to go ahead and ask Sam to put the pre-test questions in the chat while we go ahead and ask the first of our sponsors, and that is Servicare Distributors Limited, to come on board and let us hear from them. Thank you. Go ahead, Servicare.
Every day is full of opportunities for becoming even better. That's why at Kurtica, we develop high-quality, safe, and effective products and make no compromises in this regard. We are committed to continuous investments in development and research, to state-of-the-art technology, equipment, and processes, to innovation, which we incorporate into all our operations. We are committed to laboratory tests and analyses that ensure comprehensive quality control, to clinical research that improves treatments and contributes to the overall advancement of medicine, and to our skilled and dedicated team of colleagues who are devoted to their work and patients. All development and production phases, from the active pharmaceutical ingredient to the finished product, are managed in-house. We make sure that quality, safe, and effective medicines reach you. This is how we help you live a healthy life.
Thank you, Servicare. Thank you so very much for your support. And we are now asking Mr. Paul Russell from Abbott to come on and do the Abbott presentation. We are ever grateful to Paul. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Are you seeing my Abbott A?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Paul Russell from Abbott Nutrition, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to present on Abbott's products at this JMHA-HS webinar. At Abbott, there's a wide portfolio of products covering pediatric nutrition, adult nutrition, and therapeutic nutrition. And I'm just going to be highlighting a few of these products. Starting with Ensure, for your patients, there are several choices. And the key is to find the ideal Ensure to help the patient reach their nutritional goals. Let's first look at Ensure Max Protein. This is ideal for persons recovering from illness, injury, or surgery, where protein stores have been depleted. It contains 30 grams of quality protein, 4 grams of fiber, and 1 gram of sugar, and it's only 150 calories. And it's suitable for lactose intolerance, and it's gluten-free. There is also a plant-based and Ensure plant-based protein shake, which is vegan-friendly. It's dairy-free with 100% plant-based protein, and it's 180 calories. It's 20 grams of protein and 5 grams of fiber. So considering persons who are living with diabetes, we have 3 presentations that are commercially available. First, there's Lucerna Original, which is 10 grams of protein and 180 calories. Then there's Glucerna Hunger Smart, 15 grams of protein and 180 calories. And Glucerna Protein Smart, the new player on the market, which has 30 grams of protein and only 150 calories. Recommend Glucerna products for your prebiotics or diabetic patients as part of their diabetes management plan. And all Glucerna products are kosher and halal prepared, gluten-free, and suitable for lactose intolerance. For those difficult and hard to heal wounds, which can certainly take a toll on your patients, there's Juven. Juven contains amino acids, arginine, and glutamine. Arginine helps with promoting increased blood flow. Glutamine helps to support new tissue development. It has hydrolyzed collagen protein to help stimulate internal collagen production. It has HMB, which is a metabolite of leucine, which helps to regulate protein. And it has your micronutrients, vitamin C, E, B12, and zinc, which are all vital for wound healing. Juven is recommended a dosing of 2 sachets per day to support wound healing. Simply mix with 8 to 10 fluid ounces of water or juice, and it comes in 2 flavors, orange or fruit punch. And finally, there's Pedialyte for rehydration, with a mild or moderate rehydration. There's, whether it's you're exercising, you have excessive sweating, or it's extremely hot, or just vomiting or diarrhea, Pedialyte provides hydration for all, not just for children anymore, but all get hydration from Pedialyte. I've included my business card with my cell number 489-6093, or my email address, paul.russell with 1 L @abbott.com. Our products are distributed by CareMed Group at 20 Lady Musgrave Road, Kingston 5. I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you on behalf of my other colleagues, Sandra Burke-Green and Genevieve Sidiel. We wish you excellent rest of your webinar. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Paul, as usual, for your support and these wonderful products that you bring to us, ever becoming more diversified and specialized. So
thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes. And now it is my distinct pleasure to ask Dr. Lisa Kervin-Dawes, the executive board member of the JMHS and recent past vice president, to introduce our first presenter for the evening, Dr. Kathleen PATE-ROBINSON. So over to you, Dr. Lisa.
Thank you, Dr. Brown Morgan, looking wonderful. Actually, it's my pleasure to recommend a colleague and friend of mine, Dr. Kathy Ann PATE-ROBINSON. So looking at your CV, I realized that, wow, we met so long ago in around 2007 when she went to Japan to go study wellness, and I did also, and we became friends later. But she is a remarkable physician. She completed her MBBS at the University of the West Indies, her internship in Jamaica and the Bahamas. She completed her DM in internal medicine and did a fellowship in infectious disease at University of the West Indies. That's one of the people we call for whenever we have COVID or interest in infectious disease problems. We're always on the phone calling each other, and for her to give me advice. He is currently consultant and associate lecturer in Department of Medicine at the University Hospital of the West Indies and sits on the institution's COVID task force. She's a member of several learned societies, including Infectious Disease Society of America, HIV Medical Association, the International Society of Infectious Disease, and the Medical Association of Jamaica. The subject of her research studies include sickle cell, hepatopathy, sepsis, and chikungunya. She's married, has two rambunctious boys that keep her very, very busy. She's an avid reader, foodie, and likes going out sometimes. Welcome, Dr. Kathy Ann PATE-ROBINSON. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. You made it sound so much better than I think it is.
Really, we don't realize how good we really are. We sometimes need to be reminded of that. That is you. You are remarkable.
All right, I am looking for my presentation, which has decided to run away. Hold on 1 second. Let me reopen it because
You
it
want to
seems
help?
to have closed. No, it's just the Zoom. Right. There we go. It has come back. Sorry about that. Okay, can you see my screen all right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so we'll get started. So we're going to talk about the physical dimension of reset in midlife, which many of us are in midlife or starting or maybe getting towards the end of midlife. And we're going to start more with some of the general data and a little bit of a focus on women. And then we're going to switch to a little more of a focus on men. So what is midlife? Why does it matter? Well, you know, the WHO definitions of middle age is 40 to 65, and most of us have that in the back of our mind as midlife, although some of us may feel a little differently about what that constitutes. And it is a time of transition in a large number of ways. The biological and psychological and social transitions, definitely, but many of us have various transitions, whether it is our careers. Some people make a significant shift in career at that time. Your health in general, separate from just your biological changes associated with the different stage of life, your hormonal levels, there are many, many changes in this period of midlife. And so that transition requires more of us. It is also sometimes difficult for us because we're used to one thing and then our body's starting to tell us something else. And so we have to adjust how we approach our situation so that we can successfully navigate the changes and achieve that health and wellness and stability that we all want. And fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, midlife challenges and activities and behaviors are predictive of our future health outcomes. So we ought to pay a little more attention at that time. And most of us do because we are getting a little older, a little more mature. We have had more life experiences. And so our attentiveness to what we do and our approach to being healthy has also changed, and our approach to financial stability, as will be talked about by future speakers. So we want to pay attention to how we progress into our older years. We want to maintain our memory and our cognitive function. We want to be able to think as quickly as we did, and it's going to slow down progressively as we go through time. And there is quite a bit of evidence that, you know, other than these declines that we're expecting and sometimes fearing, there are some positive trends. And some studies significantly suggest that there is an increase in resilience and growth in response to stress. And that has been most notable in women, but it is seen in a lot of people as we get through this middle life period. Just to note, from a ethnicity perspective, because the Caribbean has a significant proportion of Black genes mixed in with all of us. Being Black was associated with an increased risk of frequent hot flashes after menopause, which I found very interesting. And of course, cardiovascular diseases and poorer outcomes in these cardiovascular diseases. So cardiovascular diseases, we're talking about, you know, high blood pressure, elevated cholesterol, we're talking about strokes and heart attacks and kidney disease. So these are things that we have to pay a little more attention to in terms of prevention. Psychological well-being is going to be discussed by our next presenter in greater detail, but this is important, and well-being improves, general well-being improves when we maintain more autonomy and we have more emotional control. Now, you know, we are all adults. We are used to being autonomous and making choices for ourselves. But as we get older, if our health declines significantly, or our stability, financial and otherwise, declines, then our autonomy is often one of the first things that gets a big hit. And so it's important for us to put things in place to maintain that, so that we don't have that as an added stressor, taking away from even our viewpoint of ourselves as a person. And so we have a lot to think about. And our community, our social ties, our social support, our family structure is very important in buffering us from stress. I'm sure that those of you who are heading out of the midlife zone would think about this as even far more important. So many people who are after their retirement age lament when they don't have a life partner, or they don't have good family support, they don't have good connection with other people. And that's something that we miss more and more as we get older. In particular, for women, in some of the studies that were done, persistent life stressors have a significant impact. Women are often the caregivers. We're trying to balance responsibility to family, responsibility to work. We are often taking care of those who are older, infirm, sick, our parents. We are the ones who are sometimes bearing the brunt of the loss. And so menopause is not really the main driver of our distresses, but it can be a significant driver. And it's also very important to communicate with your family and your social support structure what is happening to you as you transition into menopause, so that you can maintain that support structure. Because very often, those who are younger and have not experienced menopause, or the males in the women's lives, may not understand what is happening, what they're going through, may not recognize the cues, and then there is a lot more distress in the emotional and relational setting. And at this time, you know, in our middle life, we're reframing our identity. We're seeing ourselves as different. We're giving ourselves, hopefully, a little more grace on the development of a little more weight and many other things, and letting go of some of the desires that we had as younger women that may not be practical in our middle years. And then in terms of memory, most of us don't want to get dementia. I don't know if there's anyone who would be happy knowing that they are developing dementia, that their memory is declining, that their cognitive function, their ability to think through problems and plan is reduced, their ability to just go through the daily activities, especially with our heavy dependence on the internet and banking through the internet, other, you know, paying our bills online. Sometimes as you get older, your ability to navigate these platforms online gets a lot harder, and you have to start asking for help from your children or your grandchildren. And some people have a greater difficulty asking for help. And so we need to be a little gracious to ourselves, because this is going to happen to all of us. And so we have to try to adjust without being too hard on ourselves or hard on those around us who are going through these things. It's going to happen. We're going to have to deal with it. And so we need to accept and therefore move forward with being able to navigate different or cardiovascular risk and chronic disease risk increases as we get older. And in midlife, management of your blood pressure, glucose, and cholesterol in the normal range, keeping it there is very important to reduce our risk of strokes and heart attacks and developing dementia. And because of our higher Black ethnicity, we do have to pay a little more attention to that cardiovascular risk. And a lot of the changes associated with chronic lifestyle diseases and cardiovascular changes are very silent. We don't know when we are developing plaque in our arteries. It can be present from as early as 9 years old, and yet it's a silent process. So when the heart attack that came as a complication of the atherosclerosis, this plaque development in our vessels pops up, we feel very often, if we're not getting good checkups and paying attention to our level of risk, we feel that we're blindsided. This was unexpected, but there are things that were happening that we didn't take control of or we didn't check on. We need to check on our blood pressure. We need to check on our blood sugar. We need to go to a doctor once a year and get an examination head to toe, see what's going on in the body. Do your blood tests, you know, the ubiquitous executive profile. It's helpful because we can't see what's inside without doing some tests. So some key themes across these general and also more female-focused studies were about the impact of stress and life events and the need to change how we approach them, to put things in place to manage the physical disease processes that we're at risk of so that we reduce the impact on our future mental function, to increase in strength and fitness. Prof was talking about exercise and how little we exercise as we get older, and women are more at risk of that. Men tend to make more effort in terms of exercise, but we both need it, whether male or female. And the nutrition aspect is even more important or equally important as the exercise, because the nutrition is going to determine hormone level. It's going to determine weight loss or weight gain. It's going to have a significant impact on energy. And don't forget the cancer prevention that Prof was talking about, and smoking is a big part of that. But don't forget that smoking has a direct impact on plaque formation and cardiovascular risk, your risk of heart attack and stroke. So there are a lot of things that we need to pay attention to that we could forget when we were younger, but our bodies are not so forgiving as we get a little older. So let's take a little bit of a greater focus on the men now. So men have a different hormonal balance. They have a different balance of fat and muscle. And, you know, women tend to have more fat, men tend to have more muscle proportionally in our bodies. And our hormones are different. They sort of start to even out in this midlife period. And some of the protective factors for women fall faster. But this middle life period is a critical period for preventing chronic illness for both of us and promoting resilience. And men, you know, there are a lot of studies that show that the health-seeking behavior of men in the Caribbean is routinely poor. Men tend not to go to the doctor unless they feel sick, because they're feeling okay, and it's a little more uncomfortable in a man's mind sometimes. But we have to make the effort to get a checkup and know what's going on so we can put what we need to in place. And if, you know, you go to the doctor and you find that your pressure is high, you can do something about it because you know it's there. You don't go and you're unaware because the high blood pressure is silent. You're not getting any headaches or any bad feelings until it's really extra. So you don't do anything about it early, you're going to suffer the damages, and then the complications like the stroke and the heart attack come, and the loss of function. And that loss of autonomy is one of the bigger stressors for men compared to women. When men lose their autonomy, sometimes they more easily get depressed, anxious, and lose their motivation to make an effort for life. So we don't want to lose you men, so I want you to pay attention as well. And Supportive friendships are very critical, and being able to express your feelings. Sometimes men are very uncomfortable with dealing with emotions and feeling and not necessarily as talkative or communicating. And it's important then to have male peers that you can talk to and share with and get advice from, because sometimes, you don't want to show your inner side to the women, but cultivate your male community. It will help you. So physical decline and fitness, there were a lot of studies that showed that our strength, our muscle mass, our lung and aerobic and oxygenating capacity falls significantly, especially in the men that were studied. Women haven't been studied as robustly for this, although it's seen on both sides. And so it's important to increase your focus on maintaining regular, consistent physical fitness activities. Even 5 minutes a day, if you can't fit any more in, but most of us can do more if we make it a priority and we maybe give up on less important activities, then we can maintain that strength and fitness. We can maintain the energy level, and then it allows us to do more of the things we want to do. There's a feedback loop there that we have to be cognizant of. So, if we look at the difference between Asian populations, between the Black and white, more predominant mix, there are some differences. Asian ethnicity is associated with increased risk of cardiovascular disease at lower weights compared to height. So if your BMI, your body mass index, is at 25, that's considered overweight in a Black and white population, but in an Asian population, that's considered obese because the risk to your health is greater. And people who live longer without developing high blood pressure, diabetes, elevated cholesterol, heart disease, kidney disease, and so on, they had these factors in common. They maintained their muscle mass and their grip strength. They were exercising generally very consistently. They had normal blood pressure, normal blood sugar. They maintained a healthy weight. They didn't smoke. So doing these things has good evidence to prevent the complications we don't want. I won't focus on the psychological aspect, but bear in mind that men are our risk takers more so than women. Men are engaged in higher risk activities, especially activities that are more associated with post-traumatic stress disorder, like being in the army and, engaging in more risky situations from a physical perspective. And so PTSD is something that we have to look at very carefully for ourselves as men. I mean, I'm not a man, but for you guys, it's very important to pay attention to your mental health. Don't just shove things under the rug. Get help if you need it or if you're struggling. It's not a reflection of you as a man. If you're struggling with trauma and difficulty sleeping and feeling fearful or doubtful, those things are things we're more at risk for after negative events. And getting help means we can get over it quickly and get back to normal life. So don't be afraid to get help. And this I thought was very interesting. Later fatherhood was associated with better midlife self-rated health. And I think that some of that is to do with the fact that we have, when you are a father earlier, everybody's looking to you. There's more burden, there's more stress, there's more responsibility that maybe you haven't planned for as yet. But when you put your fatherhood off a little bit, then you are better able to manage the demands that come with it and better able to engage in actually being a parent. So for those of us in our middle years, we maybe want to let our younger males know these things so they can avoid some of the unnecessary stress and have a better father-son or father-daughter relationship. So for men's midlife health, of course, we have to focus on the mental health aspect. And Finding or having a good mentor earlier in life is a key factor. We're learning better from those around us on what they do, and mentorship is a big part of that on both sides, but it's very critical for men. Physical health and physical activity, maintenance of muscle mass, which means muscle strengthening exercise, having good grip strength is key. Avoiding chronic diseases by maintaining a healthy weight, blood pressure, low cholesterol, avoiding smoking, dealing with our trauma early, getting help when needed so it doesn't have a persistent negative impact, and delaying fatherhood till we're ready for it and are prepared to deal with increased stresses. So just to round it out and add a few things, don't forget water. We're in a phase where the world is hotter than it used to be. So our insensible losses, our losses from talking and exercising and sweating and all these things are higher. We're losing more water, and water is so key to all the functions in our body and the maintenance of joint health and just general good function. That is important that we maintain good, adequate hydration, drinking enough water that your urine is clear all the time, because it's hard to say 8 glasses, 10 glasses, 20 glasses. It depends on how much you're losing. But if your urine is always clear, looking more like water and very little yellow, if any, then you know that you are well hydrated. So, just try to keep track and make a greater effort from a physical perspective. And I'm encouraging us as women and men, get back to incorporating all these healthy activities into your daily life. Make it a priority so that you don't have to suffer later. So I don't have to see you on a hospital bed, poorly functional and unable to manage yourself. It's something that none of us want. So midlife is a window of opportunity. So let me take this off. I'm not sure if that's blocking for you. Midlife is a window of opportunity. It's not just about crisis. Everything is really pretty and shiny and interesting when you're young. And then sometimes you feel like, boy, you're going through a desert at this stage of life, because the transition can be hard, but it doesn't have to be if we choose to navigate it a little bit better, if we make a deliberate effort, and then we can, reach our nice older age utopia rather than reaching more crisis later on. So choose to be happy, choose to be
1 minute left, Doc. 1 minute left.
And this is the last slide. Choose to be happy, choose to be active, and choose to be deliberate. Deliberately choose to eat healthier, deliberately choose to get help rather than hiding from your problems, because none of us do well when we do that. All done.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Pate-Robinson, to thank you so very much for your talk. I'm just getting more and more between yourself and Prof. I'm just feeling more and more that what we seem to be about is a totally different way of looking at health and how we approach health. It's now a circular with points, and it's not linear at all. And we just need to realize that if we continue looking at our lives as we did before, we are definitely big losers. I see Dr. Lisa is here, so maybe she wants to take you through the questions. I'm going to allow her that largest right now, and then I'll come on back afterwards. So over to you, Dr. Lisa.
Oh, I was going to say great summary, Dr. Pate. This is time for questions and answers. Sam, does anybody have any questions and answers? Have any questions for Dr. Pate to answer?
Not seeing any questions for Dr. Pate yet. Yes, one is here. Regarding the drinking of adequate amounts of water to remain hydrated, I was advised that if the urine is too clear, you may be overhydrated and losing electrolytes. Is there truth to that?
There is, and it depends on your habits. So there is something called water intoxication. If you did not eat anything for 1 or 2 weeks and all you did was drink water, you'd get very sick. So we still have to try to find a reasonable balance. If you are eating regular meals that are relatively varied, you're getting a decent variety of nutrients, then if your urine is reasonably clear most of the time, then you're in a pretty good balance. If your urine is very, very clear all the time and your eating is inadequate, then you may be losing a little bit more of some of your electrolytes in the urine than you want to. So it's having that balance between the two that is more important. And just to mention that if you have particular chronic illnesses, chronic diseases, like you have heart failure, you have kidney failure, then your physician is going, your doctor is going to tell you how much they want you to drink and how much they don't want you to drink and what nutrients to avoid in excess, because the balance when your organs are not at their 100% of functionality is very different from when you don't have any organ damage. So that part is very critical as well. But it is possible for you to have too much water. It really depends on, are you eating adequately? And is your organ function normal?
Thank you so much. I think your presentation was just so clear, Dr. PATE-ROBINSON, that we don't have that many questions.
I think I saw something
There's one
about
more question.
arthritis somewhere. Oh, right.
Yes.
There was one about how can you exercise when your joints are problematic or weak, such as with arthritis. And this is something that can give a lot of trouble. If you are not somebody who is used to exercising, or you're finding that you get damages more easily or you have more pain, then you have to manage it in a more comprehensive way with some deliberate choices. One, you may need to get the help of a physiotherapist. So you take a slower stepwise approach to increasing your level of exercise in a way that you can manage, and to help you to navigate the choices of exercise and how you do it a little more safely. So a physiotherapist can be a good help in that sort of situation. Another one with arthritis that is key is reducing the impact. So when you're walking or you're jogging or you're running, you have a lot more impact on some of the weight-bearing joints, your hips, your knees, your ankles, your spine. And it may be important in that setting to consider exercising in water. You could go to the YMCA on a day when it's a little less active, and you can walk across the shallow end of the pool. You want the water at about shoulder height, and you walk in the water with exaggerated motions. You will get a good all-over body exercise with limited effects on your weight-bearing joints, because the water is supporting your weight. So water exercise or aqua exercise can help a lot with that. And then apart from that, you may want to consider doing more exercises that limit the weight on your joints. So doing more floor exercises, lying down on a mat, and less where you are upright and all the weight is going down through your spine into your weight-bearing joints. An additional thing, if your doctor says it's safe for you, because sometimes it's not, you may want to increase your intake of omega-3 fatty acids and joint support nutrients such as chondroitin and glucosamine, things that you'll find in a lot of joint supplements like Joint Ace or OsteoBiflex, but you should consult your doctor before you do that in case you have a contraindication, a reason you should not take those.
Excellent presentation. One last question from Dr. William Brown. Is there an age limit for excessive physical exercise?
No.
That one's a little hard to answer. When you
Sure,
say
that's it.
excessive is excessive.
Excessive is a term.
Implies bad.
Excessive is always bad, but there's no age limit for people to be exercising, period. And one of the things which Kathy spoke about, but things need to be reemphasized, is that as you get older, you undergo something called sarcopenia, which is the muscles become weaker just because you get older. And the sarcopenia itself, or the weak muscles, is a risk factor for you becoming sick. And so even without some of those physical activities, physical exercise, what we're seeing is little strength exercises, little 1 pound, 2 pound weight exercise of different muscle groups is actually going to be very beneficial for your health. So even if you have arthritis and you can't move about too much, just doing these little what we call strength bearing exercise is actually very good for you. So that's another strategy you could explore as you get older.
Prof, there was a question
Thanks
for
again,
you.
Prof.
The question was about if you could organize and impress the government to put in a park in Spanish Town, because it's difficult to drive to
Well, it's
Kingston to walk at
election
the
time
park.
now, so you can get
Yes,
any promise you
can
want.
get anything.
Yes, man, any promise you want.
There's a
Have we
question here,
exhausted
Dr. PATE-ROBINSON.
Oh,
One final question is can you skip
one
if you
more?
are
Okay.
obese?
So
And one skip if they are obese?
it is possible, but it depends on your muscle strength and function for the support of your ankles, knees, and hips. When you are overweight or obese, body mass index above 25, especially over 30, then the amount of weight that is coming down on the joints is more. So your risk of having changes that will lead to arthritis is greater. So it is important, if you are going to exercise with things like skipping or running or jogging when you are obese, that you take a few weeks first to significantly strengthen your knee support muscles, your hip support muscles, and your ankle support muscles, so that when you do some of those exercises like the skipping, you are putting less damage to those critical joints. And so you have to be a little careful.
Okay, so maybe this is people really loved your presentation. Lots of excellent presentation in the chat. Thank you very much, Dr. PATE-ROBINSON, and thank you, Prof, for helping us out. I'm going to turn you back over to Dr. Brown Morgan.
Right. Right. So I left with saying how very, very much Dr. Kathy and PATE-ROBINSON and Professor Marvin Reid's their presentations seem to just be parts of the same. It's like a continuation of a new concept of how we need to look at our health. And also the idea that men are different from women. We've always known that men are different from women, but it's not just the hormones, it's the concepts, it's the way they think and how that also affects health. And then we're left within this heat, drink the water. Drink the water. So we thanks again to everyone, and thanks to Dr. Lisa Dawes, Kervin Dawes, for her introduction of Dr. Kathy Pate. And we are now moving on to our sponsors' highlights of high tech. We're going to hear from Arlene Palmer, the Chief Medical Technologist with our high tech MDRL Limited. Ms. Palmer, over to you.
Medical Diagnostic and Research Laboratory has been serving the medical community for 39 years. We are located at the eastern end of the island, our home base being in Kingston at 139 Maxfield Avenue, Kingston 10. Our contact numbers are 929-7673, 837-3526, which is our WhatsApp, as well as our cell number. And we can also be visited on Instagram at tech.medical.lab. National Cancer Institute defines a laboratory test as a medical procedure that involves testing a sample of blood, urine, or substances from the body. Our lab tests can help to determine a diagnosis, plan treatment, check to see if the treatment is working, or monitor disease over time. In doing so, at High-Tech Medical, our samples are drawn by our able phlebotomists or technologists or the medical practitioners that every now and then or sometimes send samples to the laboratory for testing. In keeping with the theme for today's webinar, Midlife Reset, Challenges, Strategies, and Solutions, Where Am I? The medical laboratory has an integral role to play alongside your medical practitioner. As we age, our body's function changes, and we end up with lifestyle diseases, and our hereditary diseases start displaying. These include hypertension, diabetes, cardiac diseases, to name a few. The laboratory has panels of tests to assess these challenges and to sort out the challenges that we face. Our physicians' first approach would be to request laboratory tests. And this can be in the form of our executive profile testing that includes a panel of tests that would be able to check on the how to see how well our organs in our bodies are functioning, such as the kidneys, the liver, the thyroid, the prostate. And this can be ordered in midlife, in and around midlife, once per year. The executive profile test or panel of tests offered by High-Tech includes a complete blood count, glucose fasting, HbA1c, liver function panel, lipid function, thyroid function, and prostate function. The results of this panel is an indicator of the need for changes, lifestyle changes. And this is usually ordered once per year. At High-Tech, we do offer other panels of tests, and these can include renal panel, hypertension panel, and diabetic panel, to name a few of them. And these panels are usually tailored to lifestyle diseases also. We also offer nutrition-based panels or tests, which includes vitamin B12 and folate, magnesium, iron, serum iron, TIBC, and also ferritin. Let us help you to test so you can be at your best.
At Dolphin Pharmacy, we are more than just a place to fill prescriptions. We are your trusted health partners dedicated to providing personalized care for every patient. We understand that every patient's needs are unique. That's why we offer customized medication tailored to your specific health requirements. Our expert pharmacists can create compounded drugs, adjusting dosage forms and strengths to ensure you get the most effective treatment. At Dolphin Pharmacy, we take pride in dispensing medication according to your doctor's prescription with accuracy and care, ensuring you receive exactly what you need to support your health journey. We are also specialists in eye care medication, helping you find the right solutions for vision and eye health. Whether you need prescription drops or expert advice, we've got you covered. But our commitment goes beyond just medication. We promote a healthy lifestyle and support disease prevention with trusted advice and high-quality products to help you live well every day. Concerned about old or unused medication? Bring them to us for proper disposal. Safe medication disposal protects your health and the environment. Education is key to good health. We empower you to make conscious drug choices by providing clear, straightforward information about your medication and how to use them safely. Our team is always here to provide expert counseling on medication use, helping you understand side effects, proper usage, and how to get the best results. And it doesn't stop with prescriptions. Dolphin Pharmacy also offers a wide range of non-prescription products and health essentials, everything you need to support your well-being in one convenient place. Dolphin Pharmacy, where expert care meets personal attention. Your health is our priority.
And I thank Dolphin Pharmacy for that presentation, and with great thanks to Miss Anne-Marie Hall, pharmacist. It is now my pleasure to introduce the second speaker of the afternoon. Our second speaker is a very well-credentialed financial consultant, Mrs. Patricia Henry Brown. She's a Justice of the Peace and has her MBA and is ACCA accredited, Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, a global professional accounting body. Her stated mission is that of driving sustainable growth for small and medium businesses, and her vision is that of helping small and medium businesses to shift from accounting from the balance sheet to accounting for growth and value creation. With over 25 years of experience, Mrs. Henry Brown has worked with several multinationals such as Heineken, G-Tech, Xerox, and Kraft Food. And locally, she has worked with Trial Hall, Intcomex Limited, Caribbean Cement Company, Butterkiss Limited, and Surge Island Dairies. She started her career as a heart trainee. This is such a worthy point to note. And she has worked through every level of accounting, all the way up to the Chief Financial Officer and Chief Executive Officer positions that she holds these days. Nowadays, she is the CEO and financial consultant of more than one organization. And so she will share with us what helping companies level up means. We're going to get that term from her in a little bit. She's going to come and give us that little extra learning. As a consultant, she works as a consultant with various entities, and she helps organizations to understand and prepare for the future of finance. She helps organizations understand this in several ways, and she seeks to empower people at the heart of any transformation. It's the people who are driving it. So of note is that she also recently completed a course in data protection. And given the increase in the whole data global thing that's going on, and the penalties when we make mistakes with this data processing, she is here to be also introduced as a newly minted data protection specialist. She's experienced in restructuring, and she recently reorganized an aged-old engineering company, where as the CEO, she led a team of 100 employees to improve processes and profitability. She serves on the board of the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, the Jamaica Mortgage Bank, and she formerly served on the boards of the Urban Development Corporation, UDC, Spectrum Management Authority, and Universal Services Fund. And she's done a lot of stuff socially in the community, and she is big on the social media. She has a big social media platform with the handle of @BudgetAuntie. So she is @BudgetAuntie. So I am going to ask Mrs. Henry Brown to tell us a little bit about some of these terms and to speak with us today on the financial dimension of income generation, especially at the time of our midlife. What do we do? So, Mrs. Henry Brown, can I welcome you, and could you please just explain a few things, talk to us, and let us learn sitting at your feet. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for that introduction. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me. Now, it's truly an honor for me to speak with the Jamaica Midlife Health Society. Today, I want to take us on a practical journey, a financial midlife reset. Now, many of us here are in a season of transition, career-wise, family-wise, and health-wise. And as for our finances, they need to transition too. So this presentation is about addressing where we are without shame and charting a clear path forward. Understanding midlife financial challenges. Now, midlife can feel like being squeezed from all directions, poking a ball. On one hand, we are supporting aging parents. On the other hand, we may still be funding education for our children or even ourselves. Meanwhile, career growth may have plateaued or become uncertain. Add to that rising healthcare, cost of living, and suddenly financial pressure builds quietly but powerfully. Now, many professionals, especially in high demand fields like medicine, are surprised to find they are underprepared for retirement. Debt from mortgages, car loans, or lifestyle upgrades all creep up on you. Now, recognizing these stressors is the first step towards a reset. Why a financial reset is crucial. So why reset at all? Because your life has changed and your financial goals must change too. You may be thinking about downsizing, taking fewer shifts, traveling more, or building a legacy. That means your money must now align with new priorities. It's about avoiding financial burnout. Midlife is often our peak earning season, peak period. This is now. This is the time to maximize savings and reduce liabilities, and that is what will set us up for peace and financial freedom later. No, it is not too late. It is the perfect time. Let me say that again. It is not too late. It is the perfect time. Strategies for financial reset. Now, resetting doesn't mean overhauling your entire life tonight after this conference, right? It means reviewing what matters and make intentional shifts. Ask yourself, what are my next 10 to 15 years for? What financial habits are draining me? Am I being strategic or just reactive? Small but clear strategies can make a huge impact. Now, track your spending. Get a real view of where your money is going. So I'm imploring you to pick up your credit card statement and review it. Pick it up from the corner. It has been sitting there for a while. Now, create or revisit your budget. It's your blueprint. And I love to talk about the 50-30-20 principle, where 50% of what you earn goes towards your needs, housing, your mortgage, your rent, your utilities, food, things like that. And then the 30% is more for your wants, your hair, the wig, the nails, the barber, vacation, date night, hanging out with the boys, very important. And then the 20% is what we ought to be saving and investing. Big difference between savings and investment. Now, you also want to focus on paying down high interest debt first. Credit cards are between 47, 50, 51% annual interest rate. Think on that, but I will soon address the elephant in the room. Now, automate your savings, even if it is modest, salary deduction, whatnot. Have monthly check-ins with yourself or your spouse to track progress. Or check in with you can get an accountability partner. You can, check budget on tea, things like that. Now, we'll move on now to solutions, tools, and resources. There's no shame in needing help, none at all. Professional or the digital world is there for us. So consider financial apps. Many are online. Google to manage your budgets using the 50-30-20 principle that I spoke about on the slide before this. There's also the good Excel spreadsheet. They say if you think it, you should ink it. So write out your budget. Now, you can also sit with certified financial advisors at least once per year. I'm a chartered accountant, and at the beginning of the year, I manage my money myself. But at the beginning of the year, I would usually go in to one of my investment houses and just pick the brain of the young people there, just to be sure that I'm maximizing my return here and there. Now, you can also join financial wellness communities or forums online. You are here today on this JMHS seminar listening to the budget auntie, so you are getting little nuggets here and there. You can also read books, Google online, or blogs about money. Very important. Just Google just go on Amazon and look for financial books. Clever Girl Finance comes to mind, but there are several, just several. So think of these tools as vitamins for your financial well-being. Yes, so the doctors on this call love to prescribe vitamins, but Budget Auntie is here prescribing vitamins for your financial well-being. Small, but powerful. And now I'm going to address the elephant in the room, the credit card. Now, credit cards are like fire, useful when managed well, dangerous when left unchecked. Talk about the interest rate, annual interest rate already, 46 up to 51% annual fees. I know the financial houses, run behind the doctors to, offer these credit cards, but you should ask a lot of questions about them. Now, here's a smart use checklist. Always pay more than the minimum. Ideally, pay off your balance in full. Know your statement and due dates. Very important. Let me touch on this quickly. So let us say your statement date is June 25th, and you have no choice but to buy a washing machine per se. Don't run your card on the 24th because it will appear on the June 25th statement. Following? And so you're only giving yourself 1 day to pay. How about running the card on the 26th or the 27th of June? That way the transaction will appear on the July statement. So you're giving yourself the full 30 days to recover and pay. And the other thing I want to say to you is that if you don't ask, you don't get. You can ask the bank. Just ask if they can change your statement date closer to your payday. So you could say, just ask the bank, can you change my statement date to the 26th or the 27th of the month? So you'll have to pay Budget Auntie for all of these tips, right? Maybe that they will change it, and so you can better able to manage your statement dates and your due date. And please ensure that you pay your balances before the due date, right? Understand your interest rates and late payment fees. Very important. Never spend up to your limit. Sometimes it's difficult for you to recover. And I want you to understand too that this kind of impacts your credit score and future borrowing. And I want you to know that we have a credit bureau in Jamaica up and running. Use rewards for things you already plan to buy. I just purchased a ticket. I'm coming from New Jersey, and it was my rewards that gave me the ticket. Now, track your spending. Be aware of what is happening on your card. Apart from credit card frauds, you should know what is happening. Use credit card as a tool, not a trap. Again, use credit card as a tool and not a trap. Now, protecting your assets. So you have been budgeting, you have been doing well. You're saving, you're investing, you're buying properties. It's very important that you also protect these assets because you're now building wealth, building generational wealth. We insure our cars without thinking, but what about our income, our health, our homes, our future? Midlife is a time to review your life insurance. Do you have enough? Does your family know what you have? Now, maintain strong health insurance. It's your safety net. And most importantly, ensure your property insurance is up to date. So if you had a mortgage 15 years ago, most likely a part of your monthly payment will include insurance, peril insurance or whatnot. But you have to ensure that you update your insurance because of the movement in property values, especially in Jamaica. You want to be sure that you're insuring your property based on replacement values. So please ensure that you have adequate insurance, insure from hurricane, fire, you know, all of that jazz. Now, your income may be your biggest asset. Protecting it with the right policies is just as important. So speak to your insurance representative in that regard. Now, we're doing well with our budgets. We are doing well with properties. We are protecting them. Now we have to talk a little bit about wills and estate planning. And yes, I know that we don't like to talk about mortality. Nobody likes to talk about death, but planning for it is a gift to those you love. Again, planning for it is a gift to those you love. Now, draft or update your will. Divorced recently, update your will. New child, update your will. Very important. We see it all the time. Assign a power of attorney. Choose an executor, someone you trust to handle things when you are not around. If you have dependents, plan your future thoughtfully. Consider trusts, especially if you have complex assets or young beneficiaries. And most importantly, talk to your family about your wishes. Clarity reduces conflict. Clarity reduces conflict. There's nothing to hide. Now, the call to action. So, what can you do today? I would say start small. Even one consistent habit can shift your trajectory. Now, now, long-term well-being, prioritize that, right? Do you really need new gadgets? Or would that money serve you better in an emergency fund? Think about your priority, right? Get help when you need it. Don't wait for a crisis. And track your progress. What gets measured gets managed. Very important. There are going to be bumps in the road, but you can pivot. But you have to track what is happening. The most important thing you can do is to begin. I want to leave you with this. The most important thing you can do is to begin. Don't allow perfection to stop progress. Don't allow perfection stop progress. Now we're at the end of our presentation. I hope it was useful. Thank you so much for your attention and engagement. If this resonated with you, you can always reach out to me. I am happy to connect. You can find me on Instagram at Budget Auntie with a AUNTIE, Budget Auntie, and that's my email address. Thank you so much for having me and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I am online for a few questions. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Willie.
My apologies. I think I went off for just a moment there. And so I'd like to thank you, Mrs. Patricia Henry Brown, and Mrs. Auntie,
Budget Auntie.
yeah. Say it again for everybody so we can go online and look you up. Your online platform.
It's Budget Auntie with a AUNTI.
Budget Auntie.
Yes.
And so we can get a lot of free stuff there, hopefully, in terms of recapping what we just heard from you today.
Yes, I give free nuggets online with the hope that I will get some sponsorship somewhere, because
Yeah.
I've been doing this all by myself, just giving up free things like today.
Yeah, and for which we are so very, very grateful.
Yeah, no problem.
And we're hoping too that we provide a platform for you and an exposure also of your wit, your skills, and what you do with. And I'm just so very impressed with your pathway, your life pathway. And you started humbly, and you have traversed to the heights. And you absolutely are an example to us all as to how patience and dedication makes wins. We'd just like to just acknowledge that you spoke about avoiding financial burnout in midlife, and maximizing our savings, reducing our financial burdens. You say to us, it is never too late, and now is the perfect time. And I'm sure there are many people who really worry about that it's a bit late, because when you're past the age of 50, you begin to wonder, how do you save if you haven't saved yet? So we're hearing from you, and you're telling us some stuff to save 30%, no matter what. Pay down your credit cards.
20% I want you to save.
Yes, what you said. Go ahead again.
No, I said 20% I'm encouraging you to save and invest.
20%.
And there's a difference between saving and investing, because I don't want you to be saving 20% for 20 years and just have it sitting in the bank, because that's not earning for you. So ideally, you want about 6 months of your monthly regular running expenses in the bank. And then after that is when you're going to get a little bit more sophisticated and start investing. And I mean, investing in a house. Then we're going to stocks and bonds, but I don't want to get into that today. And other art. Many of you, I know, love to buy art. So that's it. So I want us to leave the conversation today clear that savings and investing, we should try and separate those. Because if you have 6 months of your monthly expense in the bank, you're doing better than most persons. And so any extra money you have, you can take a little bit more risk with that.
This is extremely important, because this is a group that has both medical members of the medical fraternity, but a lot of general persons out there living life, and ourselves, medics too, just reach this age, these middle years, and have not saved, have not put aside what we should have, and have so many concerns. So as you say, it is not too late. We need to take it very seriously now and quit living off our credit cards. Update our wills. If you get a new grandson or a new granddaughter, update your will then, leave them something. Don't keep on doing what you need to do, so that they are not
you don't leave it for the government, and you don't want to die intestate. You don't want to leave what you have worked so hard for the government. You want to really pass it to your loved ones.
Family.
That is,
keep an emergency fund.
Yes.
And let's get managed let's get managed. Can we ask if there are any questions? Let me see if there are any questions that we are
The first question that I saw was asking about a will. Is there an alternative to writing a will?
Well, Magnolino is coming after me, and she's really expert in this area with pensions and will. And so I will leave her because that is her area. But if you're going to talk about financial literacy, I have to take you through the steps. And one of the steps, the final step, is really the will. So I just brushed on it. So in terms of the preparation, who you're going to sit with, I don't want to go into that. My focus was to tell you that you ought not to be leaving your money to the government. Somebody should get what you have.
Agreed. 50, 30, 20. What if it can't work for me? Can I start with 10%?
Absolutely, absolutely. And every time I talk about this, persons would say that the income can't cover everything. But I want to also say to you that every one of us innately have some talent. Every one of us. Some good at gardening, some good at baking, some can paint, some can play music, some can teach mathematics or physics or chemistry is your area. And so we should start looking at the midlife things that we can do to earn more than just being a doctor every single day. There are other things that we can also do. We just have to kind of hold our heads up a little bit and see how we can also get other income from other sources that we can save and invest.
Okay, last question. What is savings versus investment? Isn't savings a form of investment?
Yes, but saving is more short term, a little short term, and it's money that you can maybe run to quicker. So you would have it in a certain account versus investment is more medium, longer term. And so you would put that money into other instruments, into other medium instruments in the bank. So you're just separating that, right? And that is investing, but that is money that you have there, but you also can invest in stocks, buying and selling stocks, or you can buy bonds, which is very similar to stocks, or your house is your investment. You could, buy a house for your family, but you could also have an outhouse that you could rent and you're getting income coming in. That is investment. Many of us, when you get to the midlife, your children no longer is empty nester. You can look at downgrading and renting some room to some university students. There are so many ways that you can skin the cat by getting additional income. And some of these may seem small, but they really add up over time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more questions, Sam?
No, that's it for Budget Auntie.
Okay. All right. So, Mrs. Patricia Henry Brown, we thank you for bringing your tips and your solutions, your advice to us this evening. And we wish you very, very well with the budget auntie. I think we'd all have a look and see where you are there. Thank you again.
No, the last one, somebody said protecting your asset includes your health too. Of course, because it's the only body that we have there, the only place we have that, is gonna do the work. So we also have to protect that with health insurance by staying healthy. The speaker before me, spoke about healthy living and wellness. This seminar is also about wellness. So you have to ensure that you are well in order to make all of the investments that we're thinking of.
Thank you. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, bye.
Thanks. At this point, I'm going to say to our group that we've completed our session 1. of the seminar webinar today, and I'm going to hand over to our second session moderator, Dr. Lisa Kervin-Dawes, to take us through the rest of the evening. Welcome, Lisa.
Welcome.
Welcome
I
back,
thought I was
yeah.
getting it after the Indus Life, but thank you. Great session. And now we have our sponsors. Without you, we couldn't be here. Indus Life Science. Sam?
Good afternoon, doctor. Can I share my screen?
Yes, you can, Mr. Daya. Please go
Thank
ahead.
you. Thank you.
No problem.
So are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, go ahead. You have
Thank you, sir.
5 minutes.
Thank you.
Max.
Yeah, yes. Thank you very much for JMHS for this wonderful, evening to come on board to sponsor your presentation from Indus Life Science. We just want to refresh you on our OTC brands that we have it here in Jamaica, of course, most of the Caribbean countries. And one of the medication is for the, as you could see in the screen, is for management of pain, both for musculoskeletal as well as for neuropathic pain. That's our Capsitop. I'm pretty sure all of you must be aware of this brand. It has the 3 active ingredients of capsaicin, diclofenac, methyl salicylate, and they work in different pathways. And so very ideal for moderate to severe pain, especially if it is a nerve pain like a neuropathic pain or, arthritis pain, osteoarthritis, all this pain, it is very good. Apart from joint pain, back pain, shoulder pain, almost this condition. As you could see here in the screen, where Capsitop is ideal. Is it back pain, neck pain, joint pain? The honest answer is all the above pain. And one good news is that I'm happy to share Indus has completed 10 years now in Jamaica. Indus was launched in 2015 in the month of June, and this June 2025 we are completing 10 years. And Capsitop is one of the first brand that we introduced in Jamaica along with a couple of other brands. So this is a 10th anniversary for Capsitop. Thank you very much as for medical practitioners who have been supporting. And also I like to share Capsitop is over the counter. So patient can go to the pharmacies and ask for Capsitop. They'll get it even without prescription too. And it is just cost less than $1,000. And we also have a pain spray, which is very popular. And we went out of stock for a couple of months. Now we have enough stock now. The shipment has arrived. So, which is basically a spray, not a gel. Capsitop is a gel and Reddit is a spray. The interesting indication or the interesting composition of Reddit spray is it is all natural. There's no chemicals on it. As you could see in the screen, it has extract from eucalyptus, turpentine, methyl salicylate, and menthol. So for fast onset of action, spray is always recommended, is always preferred. Thereby, Reddit spray will be very ideal for quick relief from pain. My honest recommendation, if it is a pain is mild to moderate, Reddit spray is very ideal. And if the pain is moderate to severe, you can use Capsitop. Probably when you're at work, Reddit spray is very convenient. And when you're retiring on bed at night time, you can apply Capsitop gel. So Reddit spray comes in 2 containers, 43 ml, which costs just around $300, I mean Jamaican. And the bigger one, the larger version is 150 ml, that cost around $700. Ready spray. And of course, ready spray is also over the counter. And for people who have, experiencing heartburn, hyperacidity, gastritis, gas, acid reflux ulcer, we have this wonderful antacid in Jamaica, which is new gel. I'm pretty sure all of you must be familiar with this brand. And this has the unique ingredient alginic acid, which is the first of its kind in an antacid that can stop acid reflux as well as heartburn. As you could see in this clip down here, when the person takes new gel, as it goes into the stomach, interacts with the stomach acid, the alginic acid in this antacid new gel forms the foam in just 4 minutes. And this foam, called as alginate raft, blocks the entry of stomach content from stomach into the food pipe. Thereby, episodes of throwing up, acid reflux, heartburn is prevented. This action continues literally more than 4 hours. After that, it gets excreted completely. No residue is left in the stomach. So when the person is ready for the next meal, they can take the next dose of new gel. And new gel is safe in diabetes because it is sugar-free. Of course, the interesting information, it's safe in pregnancy, all 3 trimesters. Because it's safe in pregnancy, is well understood, safe in children less than 10 years. If you have any stomach upset or stomach pain, it can be considered. We have the extension of new gel, which is also the new gel O, which is the first of its kind in Caribbean, with the pain medication oxytocin, which is basically mucosal anesthetic drug, relieves pain instantly, less than 5 minutes. So it's also called as a 5 minutes miracle antacid. It's good for acidity, gas problem, acid reflux, heartburn, and pain. Almost 5 indication it can be considered. This is the first of its kind in Caribbean. We have the sachets that is also available. 10 ml sachets, on-the-go liquid, no powder inside. The last but the most important brand, as I mentioned, we have completed 10 years. It's not only Capsitop, even the Amino Pep, we are celebrating 10th anniversary. If this would have been a face-to-face meeting, I would have been happily brought a cake to cut it. So next time when there's a face-to-face, I'll definitely organize it. Amino Pep is the first supplement we all know, which is ideal for everybody for that matter, with amino acids for protein, with vitamins, and zinc is also there, which is 50 milligram for immunity. It boosts the immunity. Amino Pep is a chocolate caramel flavor and is recommended from 2 years and above. And if anybody needs these OTC product samples, please WhatsApp to this number. We have all the samples that you see in the screen. We can organize to deliver it to you. Thank you very much, and please enjoy the rest of the presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Well awaited your products.
Thank you.
Actually, I used Red Heat this weekend with a friend of mine and she liked it.
Thank you very much.
Our next sponsor is Apex Radiology.
Good day, colleagues and friends. I'm Anne Bridgewater, consultant and chief radiologist at Apex Radiology. As a founding director and shareholder in the company Image Plus Consultants Limited, owners of Apex Radiology, I'm proud to share that we have been serving the Jamaican and Caribbean medical community for over 29 years, delivering compassionate patient care and the highest quality diagnostic and interventional radiological services. It is your continued support which has been instrumental in our growth, and we'd like you to know that we truly appreciate and value the important relationships we have developed over the years. As you know, we have 4 branches, 3 in Kingston and 1 in Ocho Rios, and our services include X-rays, mammograms, fluoroscopic studies, ultrasound studies, including Doppler studies and 3D obstetric ultrasounds, CT scans, including virtual colonoscopy, MRIs, including breast and prostate MRI at our Ocho Rios branch, and nuclear medicine studies. Also, we deliver interventional studies, including biopsies, abscess and cyst drainages, PICC lines, and other catheter insertions. I am pleased to announce that our 129 Pro branch in Ligani is currently undergoing renovations to accommodate our new state-of-the-art nuclear medicine SPECT scanner. As of July 1st, 2025, we will be offering nuclear medicine studies in the comfortable and convenient location. In addition to our usual scans, most commonly our bone scans, thyroid scans, renal scans, and lung perfusion scans, we will be offering cardiac scanning to diagnose and monitor ischemic heart disease and heart function. We also continue to grow in the field of women's imaging with our mammographic services offered at our Malines Road and Ocho Rios offices. In 2023, we installed new state-of-the-art digital mammographic machines with tomosynthesis and 3D imaging. This allows patients to have pain-free mammograms with a higher degree of accuracy and up to 30% less radiation exposure. Yes, gone are the days of painful compression and pulling on the breasts. It is often said, no pain, no gain. But at Apex, we say no pain and enough gain. So please join us in the fight against breast cancer by ensuring that all women in Jamaica, your patients, start their mammographic screening at the age of 40 years. We have invested in acquiring these machines, which make the procedure more comfortable, acceptable, and accurate. But it is up to you to educate, encourage, and implore our ladies to come and get screened. At Apex, we have gone one step further by investing in breast MRI with a large enough coil to scan any breast in Jamaica. On the topic of screening, I would like to also remind you of virtual colonoscopy or colonography in the screening for colon cancer. Yes, it is covered by health insurance, and it is also safer, cheaper, more comfortable, less invasive, less time consuming, but yet just as accurate as conventional colonoscopy in diagnosing polyps 5 millimeters or larger. So it is an excellent screening tool for colon cancer, and patients can resume their normal daily activities as soon as they leave our offices. So remember, colon cancer is one of those cancers with an excellent survival rate if detected early. So let us keep our population healthy by referring all patients over 45 years of age for their virtual colonoscopy at Apex Radiology. So whether for early detection, diagnosis, ongoing monitoring, or treatment support, Apex Radiology is the clear choice for your diagnostic needs. Your #1 radiology center, completely committed to excellence in imaging and serving you, our referring physicians, and our patients. Thank you, and have a wonderful symposium.
Thank you, Apex Radiology. So nuclear medicine now at 129 Pro. Thank you. And now I'm going to introduce our next speaker, Mrs. Magdalena Cooper Denise. She started in the life insurance industry the 1st of October 1985 at LOJ, now Sagicor, Mandeville Brand. In 2025, she would have been in the life insurance industry for 40 years. In the life insurance, employees' benefits, and pensions industry, which is framed by trust law. Her life insurance career has provided her with opportunities to work and live in St. Lucia, Cayman, Turks and Caicos Islands, and to complete academic and insurance professional studies. Professionals such as LUTCF, CLU, CHFC. Academic LLB honors from the UK. She is a specialist in employee benefits and pensions with a focus on retirement, financial, and lifestyle planning. Currently, she is an FSC licensed life insurance sales rep, pensions consultant, Sagicor employee benefits sales branch, partner, milestones, and lifestyle planning services. She's the mother of 2 sons and their spouses. And 18 years ago, her older son decided it was the time for her to be a grandmother. So she has a grandson who is 18, named James. It is an honor to have Mrs. Magdalene Cooper Denise come and talk to us today on generational wealth and inheritance management. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lisa. Thank you to JMHS. Thank you to everyone. I really enjoyed the previous presentations and looking forward to this presentation now. So I'm going to share my screen. Everybody can see it. And I am going to set up my PowerPoint. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you are enjoying the opportunity you have to be on this program. Okay, it's coming up. All right, good. So, as was said earlier on, today's topic of the JMHS second webinar for 2025 is Midlife Reset, the challenges, strategies, and solutions. Where am I? Are you hearing me? Are you seeing my screen, everybody?
Yes.
Hearing you well.
We're hearing you. We're hearing you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Surely.
So the date is here, and in the interest of time, I'll move on. So and I'm your presenter, as was done ably introduced by Dr. Lisa earlier on, a few minutes ago. And my topic, or my presentation topic, will be on your primary sources of personal and family wealth, generational wealth, and inheritance management. I hope everybody is noticing how I have kind of changed up the words, and you can see the letter I and we being highlighted. That's because sometimes we forget that each one of us have to take personal responsibility, but that personal responsibility is based on being part of a team. What's the first word in the word wealth, everybody? Shout it out. What's the first word in the word wealth?
W.
We. Yeah, you cannot create wealth without we. And so it's important for us to recognize that. And based on the team, Midlife Reset, the challenges, strategies, and opportunities where I am, confirmation, I want to leave this thought with you, and you take this thought through the presentation. Maintain a positive mindset that every challenge is framed with opportunities to develop strategies which provide solutions. So I'm really, really glad about the title of the presentation or the webinar today, because I'm saying there are challenges, but be known, or let it be known, that there are opportunities as well. So what we're now going to look at is Jamaica's primary sources of personal and family wealth for generational wealth and inheritance management. And the first one I look at, I always talk about now, is Jamaica's state benefits, NIS and NHT. What I've found over the years is that most people think that NIS and NHT is a waste of time. It is not. Those plans pay good benefits, but what happened is culturally, most people have put those plans as not a waste of time. I remember when I started to speak about these plans, most people didn't take me seriously, but some did. And as a result, a lot of them are doing well. One client of mine got over 15 million at age 65 from NHT. And another client got very good benefits from NIS because she checked on her benefits in terms of when she should have started at age 18 until when she retired. So there are good benefits in there. So I refer to state benefits, NIS and NHT, as foundation sources of personal, family, wealth building plans for generational wealth and inheritance management. And you'll see why in a few minutes. The second one I want to look at is employment-related approved retirement savings and benefits plan. Now, the reason I start off with the foundation is that you cannot build a building, or you cannot build your wealth without knowing what the foundation is. And NIS and NHT is there, and then you now move on to employment-related approved retirement savings plans. So if you work in the public sector, there's a plan there for you in terms of saving for retirement. If you're in the private sector, there's a plan there for you. There are more than one set of plans that are there for you. And if you're in the tourism sector, this one's fairly new, there's a plan there for you. So you need to know what the rules and so are in all of these plans when you're employed. Some personal questions to ponder. What is personal and family wealth? You really do need to understand what this is. I could spend all afternoon and talk about it, but I won't, because I have more slides to present on. But it's very important you ask yourself these questions and you research them to be able to know where you're at. The next question is, why is it important? You know, sometimes I think we forget that what we are today, or the pleasures we're enjoying today, even with this webinar being online, is because of what other people in the past did. So we have to now drill down to our personal and family situation to know why we need to build personal and family wealth. Are you the beneficiary of generational wealth? And all of us are in one way or the other. If you're the beneficiary, then what principle guides your inheritance management, which we passed on to your next and succeeding generations? Everything we do today endures to generational wealth and inheritance management. How we take care of things today is saying how we regard the generations before us and what they did. I remember in the 1960s when I went to the UK, I used to work in the computer industry, and at that time, you had a console, and you had these huge storage equipment to go with it. Now, look at where the computer is, right in your hand. So we're all building on what other people have done, but we need to take personal responsibility. It's also good to know that once you're into any savings and retirement type of plans, you need to know what is the legislation to go with it and what are the rules. Apart from NIS and NHT, which are standard and have standard rules and standard law, every other plan that you're into, with employment-related plans, they have different rules. So you can't say, you know, NIS is 65, so may I go and claim? No, you have to look and see what your employment-related plan is all about. So do you know how benefits are paid from NIS and employment-related approved retirement savings benefits plans for building personal wealth, personal and family wealth, for generational wealth and inheritance management? So one of the things I say to everybody, remember that these plans pay a benefit in the event of old age, disability, and to survivors upon death. The benefits are paid in the form of annuity, and we talk a little bit about that. What is an annuity? First, an annuity is only available from an FSC registered and licensed life insurance company. So you can't buy an annuity any old place. No, it can only be purchased from a life insurance company. Next, an annuity provides for the payment of a guaranteed lifetime income with or without indexation. I've had a lot of clients who have decided, oh, I can choose the annuity I want, and they end up choosing an annuity option that doesn't pay an indexation, and the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, they're saying, boy, the pension's small. You know, excuse my my Jamaican lingo every now and again. But it's small because most of us don't understand how annuities work. If you want, if any one of you want, I can come back at another time and have personal discussions or with you at your workplace on this matter, because that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, after you accumulate the capital in these plans, it is going to pay you a benefit in the form of an annuity. Conditions apply, as I've stated after each one of these comments here. So let's look at NIS again. When benefits are being paid from an employment-related, and we're going to look at the employment-related aspect, approved retirement benefits plans, it is being paid from an annuity. The annuitant is provided with an annuity options booklet. I don't know how many of you know about, or before you've even retired, know about annuity options booklet, which provides details on the benefits to the annuitant, which is you, the individual purchasing the annuity, and to include a surviving spouse where applicable and or dependent for his or her lifetime. So it's very important, if you're married, that you understand what the options booklet is offering you. If you've been through it, share the information with others. When selecting an annuity option, it is best to have an FSC licensed life insurance sales rep like myself to assist. Do you know how benefits are paid from NHT? Now, this is something which I have found very interesting, that most people are unaware that NHT pays a benefit in the event of old age, disability, and death. Apart from the 7-year refunds, apart from the housing mortgage benefits, it also pays a benefit in the event of old age, disability, and death. And when you understand that, and when you understand the rules of how it operates in NHT, you can amass quite a nice lump sum at old age. So for instance, old age is 65 in NHT, and you can, if you don't take your annual 7-year refunds, it can amass quite a bit. And I don't know if I said this before, but I've had clients who've collected at age 65. One of them collected 5 million, another one collected 15 million. And that's because they understood the rules after a while and decided what decision they were going to make in terms of taking their 7-year refunds. NIS and NHT contributions start at age 18. So by the time you get to midlife, if the benefit is payable at age 65, 18 from 65 is 47. So by the time you get to midlife, if you start at age 18, you should have accrued quite a bit. Yeah? Because remember, as I said before, these two plans pay a benefit in the event of old age, disability, and death, and conditions apply, as I said before. For for NHT, it is age 65 maximum. For NIS, it has now been changed from age 65 for females, 70 for males, to both males and females being able to collect their benefit at age 70, and conditions apply. NHT retirement life event, which I spoke about before, old age, disability, and death, benefits are made as a one-time tax-free lump sum payment. I didn't go very heavy into the design of your pay slip, but you really need to know that. And the reason that the NHT benefit is a tax-free payment, lump sum payment, is because NHT contributions from your pay are deducted after tax is calculated on your pay. So it doesn't come in before tax like the NIS. So the NIS, when you get the benefit in the form of an income, it is subject to tax, but the NHT gives you a one-time lump sum tax-free payment, which is really, really good once you know what the rules and how to go about doing that. NHT one-time tax-free payment is a bona fide source of funds and may be used to purchase an annuity. The thing with annuities is that annuities, you cannot purchase an annuity, whether in Jamaica or anywhere in the world, unless you know what the source of funds are, and it must be from a bona fide legal source. It cannot be that you went and did some scamming or something. No, it has to be from a bona fide, and you have to have documentation. And that's why I've put it in here that everybody needs to keep in mind that if you're shortfall on your income in retirement, then you can use the NHT Old Age Special Contributions Refund to actually use it to get your to increase your income. You know, I also asked a question, and anybody can answer. What's the difference between an old man and an old gentleman? Anybody? What's the difference between an old man and an old gentleman? Or an old woman and an old lady? What's the difference? Anybody? Everybody's gone, or is it me alone speaking? Or nobody wants to answer me? All right, so let me help you.
The old gentleman is gentle.
Yes, he's gentle, but why is he gentle?
Money.
No,
experience.
don't use money. Use another word. Starts with I.
Experience.
No, use another word.
Income.
He has income.
Income, yeah.
Yes, and it's the income that causes, that is a problem in retirement. It's not just money, it's income, because there's nothing nicer than getting up each end of the month or whenever, and you can go to your bank or wherever and collect your payment for your pension payments, and it isn't below the income you were earning before you retired. So whether you're male or female, or whether you're married or single, remember, and I didn't bring it into the presentation, that you need to be planning with 100%, a capital sum, which will give you 100% of your remuneration at actual retirement date. We can talk about that another time, because there's a lot to go into that as well. So, do you know Jamaica's legislation for fulfilling your strategy and solution for building personal and family wealth for generational wealth and inheritance management? As we said before, there's always the law. NIS, the legislation, is the National Insurance Act 1966 and enabling regulations. The NHT, you can go and look at it, the National Housing Trust Act 1976 and enabling regulations. Sometimes you can't just go by what everybody's saying. You have to go on there and you have to look it up yourself, yeah, and read it. It's very useful. The Public Sector Pension Plan is from the Pensions Act 1947. And remember, there's also an act as well, but I just didn't get the time to bring it up. An act as well for the MPs and the Prime Minister. There's a separate pension legislation for that, okay? Private sector plans, it comes from the Income Tax Act, Section 44 and 44A, because Section 61 is no longer available. And then there's the Pension Superannuation Funds and Retirement Schemes Act 2004 and Enabling Regulations 2006, Governance, Investments, Registration, Licensing, and Reporting. So those are the legislation. And then the Tourism Sector Pension Plan, which is the Tourism Workers Pension Act 2019, and then the Income Tax Act, again, which I've put there because of the fact that once you're starting to get income, all income received in Jamaica is subject to tax. And I really was glad that Pat made those presentations, and Pat needs to be telling all retirees, come and see her to do their annual tax returns. I don't know if she does that. But the issue we have is that most people, when they get to retirement, midlife and beyond, if you're collecting a pension, fail to realize that if you do not do your annual tax returns, it can be a problem. So for instance, recently, there was a campaign by the government about paying out some flat sum, I think it's $20,000 or $50,000. A lot of people lost out on it because they weren't doing their annual income tax returns, and that's very important. Trustees Act, if you're going to set up a will or a trust, it's important to know what's the duty of a trust. And also the National Housing Trust, the NIS Act, the pension, the public sector, the private sector tourism, all those plans has an element of trusteeship in it. because if it didn't have that element of trusteeship in it, it couldn't be around for so long to give everybody a benefit when it is due. Sorry. And all this legislation, sorry, getting excited. You can go to www.moj.gov.jm and you can look at the various legislation. Okay, so continuing the life events, which I spoke about, and maximum contribution years for NIS and NHT. So do you know the life events which trigger benefit payment for eligible contributors from NIS and NHT? And it is old age, disability, and death, which is what I spoke about before. Do you know the maximum contribution years to be eligible for maximum benefit from NIS and NHT? Anybody? What's the maximum contribution years for NIS? Anybody? Huh. Everybody
Is it 40 years?
No, it's more than that.
70.
How much? The
65.
maximum. No, the
Age
maximum.
18 to age
So
18 to
45
70.
years.
Right.
Age 18 to 70.
It's how much? It's how many years?
I don't know, but I think that's the span.
Yeah, that's the span. So
52
that's
years.
52 years. And NHT, what's the span for NHT? 47
Forever.
years. 47 years. So that's why you need to know, especially for NHT, are you putting in your contributions to give you a benefit in the event of old age, disability, and death? NIS will automatically do it. What I'm finding out is happening is that most people, when death occurs in the family, they're now looking to other people to help them. When NIS already gives a funeral grant, you know, plan your funeral around the grant. Don't plan your funeral around money you don't have, because after you've buried the person, I don't mean to be disrespectful, there are debts that you have to pay. You have to live. So make sure you're doing it, unless you have, you know, adequate life insurance that could give you the kind of send-off style that you desire or that you requested from your family. Are you ready today to build personal family wealth for generational wealth and inheritance management? So here's what you need to do. First of all, when you're looking at building personal wealth for generational wealth and inheritance management, you really have to be guided by the principle of love. A lot of us, including myself, didn't get much generational wealth or any generational wealth apart from a natural generational wealth of the sun, the moon, and the stars, and being in a lovely country like Jamaica. You have to do it based on love. You can't be having a situation like when I go to enroll employees in superannuation funds retirement schemes, the employee sitting in front of me and they're married. Excuse me, can you tell me who you want as your beneficiary? And they'll put their children. I don't know where that has come from, because the first person you must put as your beneficiary is your spouse, whether it's your husband or your wife. It cannot be that you're putting the children first, because the law is such that the spouse comes first. And if you do not put the spouse on, the spouse can go to the courts and claim against the estate. And you don't want that, because it's a waste of money. So remember, even if you put, I don't want to say $1, but even if you put a minimum amount or 10%, is better than putting nothing, because a will, which we're going to look at a little bit from now, will and a trust and so on is based on the person, the testator's intention, but the intention must also meet the principles of the law. So I beg Uno, can I say that in Jamaican language? Uno, please, especially the woman, please remember to thank you for the heartbeat. Especially the woman, please remember to state your husband as the primary beneficiary, because remember, upon death of a wife, the husband has all the responsibilities on the law to pay the debts. Husbands, remember your wife have all the responsibility to pay the debts. So therefore, have love between yourself. And I'm not going to go into the love relationship. I have a whole heap of presentations on that, but that needs
2 minutes left. 2 minutes
okay,
left,
it's
man.
coming up. Your generational wealth inheritance management plan requires the preparation of one of the following valid documents: a valid will and or valid testamentary trust, as Mrs. Pat spoke about earlier on, and valid interviewer's trust. We don't have a time to go through that, but my recommendation is that most people should consider having a testamentary trust, because with a testamentary trust, you don't end up paying estate duties and taxes in the normal way. So that is usually better, but I can give you more information another time. Conditions apply. Seek the services of an attorney. Okay, Any other questions or and any answers will come after us? So the question is, where are you now? You should know where you are now. Remember to maintain a positive mindset that during midlife and beyond, every challenge is framed with opportunities to develop strategies which provide solutions. Now I'm your presenter. Thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance and your participation and your attention during this presentation. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
While he's looking, excellent presentation, Ms. Cooper,
Thank you.
Mrs. Cooper, the news. Excellent. I learned a lot. Need to find out more about it. A test, what did we were telling the last one?
Testamentary trust.
Trust. Don't know enough about that one.
Okay, so what it is that when death occurs, the assets go into a trust and trustees manage it.
Mm-hmm.
And what the trustees do is they pay a fee, but it's not exorbitant. And therefore, there are no estate duties and taxes applicable in that because it's in a trust. So for instance, if you look at the fact that NIS is a trust, NHT is a trust, superannuation funds, retirement schemes, and all those plans are a trust, it's because of that particular benefit of having a trust. Inter vivos trust means that you set up a trust while you're alive, especially for people who are older and who can't manage a lot of the estate that they have and still want to get it. It's good to have an inter vivos trust. Good question. Thank you.
Magdalena, trusts in Jamaica can have insurance taken out for the directors, life insurance?
Yes, in fact, you really should have a life insurance payable to the trust. Why? Because the trust will have expenses, and in order for the trust to continue and for you to continue with proper generational wealth, you need capital. But in order for you to name the trust as a beneficiary in your life insurance, you need to have the trust already written and registered to be able to name it as a beneficiary in your life insurance policy. Good question.
So the trust is essentially like registering a company?
Yeah, it's similar, but it's not quite. It operates differently. So for mind you, similar in that when you have the trustees can sue, and you can sue the trustees if they're not doing. For instance, the example I often use is Heinz Foods, one of their generations, who was supposed to benefit from the Heinz estate, recognized the trustees weren't doing well with it, and they sued the trustees. So, but when you have a will, what the will does is the will transfers the estate from one person to another one, and that's it. Yes, when you have a trust, it goes into a central location and everybody benefits from it in accordance with what the trust terms are. Just like what you have with NIS, NHT, and so on.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
A lot of persons would like to actually speak to you. If you'd like to ask a question, we can take two. Raise your hands and we'll give you the opportunity to speak.
And my number was also on the slides, 876-897-2335. 876, somebody could type it in for me, please. 876-897-2335. Go ahead with your question, whoever is asking, if anybody is asking.
No hands raised at the moment. Let me check in the chat. Nothing in the Q&A.
Oh,
just that it was a very informative session.
Is there
Go ahead, Dr. Kervindos.
Is there a minimum amount that you would need to have before you would leave your estate in a trust?
That's a very good question. I would say that you should have assets, including real estate and so on, at least 5 to 10 million.
That's all? Okay.
Because that's me. That's
US dollars?
US dollars would even be better.
But
no, you meant 5 to 10 million Jamaican?
Yes, because what happened is you need that would be my interpretation. It could be more, but you need to be able to have cash in the estate so that as the needs for the estate arises and based on what is the instructions in the terms for the trust, it can be fulfilled. And I am saying that's today. I mean, say when I came to Jamaica, it was 60 cents. It's now $300.
Yes.
So you'd have to increase that amount as you go along. It's not static.
I really like Dr. Kervindos' question, if I could just follow up on that. So does the trust have an annual expense that it pays out like a registration, the way how a company has to pay a registration to remain legally registered each year?
That's a very good question, which I can't answer right now. I'll do the research on
Okay,
that.
no
Yes,
problem.
can't answer that right now. But when in fact, I don't think that would be out of order, but I will research. That's a very good question. I'll research it and get back to you.
Okay,
Anybody else?
two questions over by Latoya Chevenese. I'm not seeing them because they're in the chat. I wish should have typed them in the Q&A. One question here. Please state how long to obtain a funeral fund from the NIS. How long does it take?
To be honest with you, from my experience, it doesn't take long. But what happens is that people wait very long to go and claim it. However, though, I have met persons who have taken a long time, like a year or so to get. That shouldn't really be. And I think it's something which we need to kind of bring to the attention of the minister and say, you know, what is the time frame that is being used to pay out the funeral grant? Because right now the funeral grant is at 150,000, if I'm not mistaken. It was 90,000 before, it's now at 150,000. And it can go a long way to helping with the funeral expenses. But I don't think that it appears, I should say, it appears that there isn't a time frame to paying out the benefit after the death certificate and all those things are submitted. So it means that we need to kind of ask for some time frame on it. And the reason why I share these things is because these plans and the legislation around, it's not static. And if we don't participate and ask questions of our leaders, then how are we going to get the things to grow? And that's the reason why I do this level of sensitization.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kervin Dawes. I think that's it for this section.
Thank
There's one
you.
more question. One more question. I'm reading from the chat. I worked in Jamaica for 9 years and 6 months with Ministry of Health. Am I eligible for NIS benefits?
Yes. What year were you in the Ministry of Health? It doesn't matter. But if you're living overseas, what you need to do is to continue your contributions to NIS and NHT. You can go on their websites and you can actually get the information as to how to That's an excellent question, because people don't realize that when you migrate, once you started the benefits, paying and contributing into the plan in Jamaica, when you migrate, you can continue the contributions because you want those 57 years. You want that time to be able to get maximum benefit wherever you are in the world. And that's how those plans work. It doesn't work like that for any employment-related plan, because once you leave the company, you're not eligible to contribute anymore. But NIS and NHT doesn't operate like that. What happens if you lose a receipt to the funeral home and they refuse to give you another copy? Then you just need to ask them gently and put it in writing and copy your attorney. Thank you all very much. Thanks for the
Thanks
opportunity.
again. Excellent presentation. You can guess from well, it's in the chat, but you can also see it from all the questions that were asked. Thanks again. Our next our next sponsor is Beth Med Farmer.
Yep.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen.
No problem.
All right. Hold on. All right.
Can you go full screen mode from beginning? There you go.
All right. Okay.
Did you click on it?
Oh, oh, sorry. Slideshow. There we go.
There you go. Yes.
Okay. Oh.
Today's presentation will be about all the products that we have to offer to your clinical practice. Good afternoon, everyone.
Right.
I am
Oh, wow. Okay. Sorry about that. Let me just get the sound.
That's okay. Just mute it.
How do I mute that? Oh, jeez.
No problem. It's okay. Just press escape
Escape. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just
That
go ahead and
little,
present? Okay.
sure,
Yes.
go ahead and present from here if you'd like. No problem. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Sorry about that. Okay, so
that's
good
okay.
day, everyone. As you've heard so many times, I'm Tamika Booty, and thank you for having me today. I'll be sharing a quick overview of 4 analgesic and therapeutic products from BethMed Pharma that are useful in various clinical settings. All right, let's start with the Tramdol, active ingredient being tramadol. We have the 50 milligram capsules, right? As you know, it is a centrally acting synthetic analgesic with dual mode of action that binds to the mu opioid receptors and also inhibits the reuptake of noradrenaline and serotonin. This makes it ideal for moderate to moderately severe pain with fewer side effects than stronger opioids. Right? It's suitable for adults and children 12 and older and works well in outpatient settings thanks to flexible dosing and short-term safety. For the injectable form, we have the 50 milligrams per mil in 2 milliliter ampules. This offers fast onset via IV, IM, or subcutaneous routes. It's especially useful in emergencies, post-op pain, or when oral meds aren't an option. Importantly, it has a low risk of sedation or respiratory depression, making it a safer alternative in acute settings. Also, it is an ideal option for patients with GI issues. Okay, and that's our injections. Bethlid, or 2% lidocaine injection. It's a fast-acting local anesthetic, ideal for minor surgical procedures. It can reduce the need for general anesthesia and is proven safe and effective when given IM or subcutaneously. It's a trusted option in your anesthetic toolbox. Balgin or analgin, also known as metamizole, right, is a potent analgesic, antipyretic, and spasmolytic agent. It's effective in cancer pain, renal colic, and post-op cases, offering rapid relief given IM or IV. It's fast-acting in acute scenarios, and it can be used in adults and children over 3 months and above 5 kilograms, which makes it a versatile choice. Vigro, last but definitely not least, we have our Vigro or sildenafil 100 milligram tablets for erectile dysfunction. It starts working within 30 to 60 minutes and lasts up to 4 hours. It's a PDE5 inhibitor, as you may know, that improves blood flow and erection quality, restoring confidence and performance in men. It is clinically proven and remains the gold standard for erectile dysfunction treatment. Right? So pretty much in summary, Tramdol capsules are safe oral analgesic, and we have the 50 milligram capsules available, and those are available in most pharmacies, and we are the suppliers of the the hospitals, both private and public. Tramadol injections offer rapid relief in acute settings. Bethlid or lidocaine, effective local anesthetic, and Balgin, strong relief for severe pain. And lastly, Vigro boosts sexual and quality of life. So pretty much that is a quick overview of all the products that we offer currently at BethMed. Thank you so much for your time. And yes, I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very, very much, Ms. Moody. And thanks for supporting us. We appreciate it.
You are most welcome, and thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Our next sponsor will be the Jamaica Observer. Okay, I guess, Sam, that means we're moving along. Sam, is that it? Not sure.
So sorry, this keeps muting. Yeah, that's it. That was it from the Jamaica Observer.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So next I'm going to turn over to Dr. Arna Brown Morgan, who will introduce the next speaker and carry through the questions and answers. Thanks a lot. Over to you, Dr. Brown Morgan.
All right, thank you, Dr. Lisa. Here it is now that it is for me to really get Dr. Jeffrey Walcott to open his viewer picture so we can all see him. Dr. Walcott, it is my pleasure to introduce you to as our next speaker. Although I tell you, Dr. Jeffrey Walcott needs very, very little introduction to either medical or non-medical participants. We have been seeing him presenting and invigorating us and revitalizing us over many years and decades. Dr. Walcott is a dynamic, charming, and engaging psychiatrist and a shining star of his profession here in Jamaica. His willingness to engage, hear what you say, listen, and as well as his font of knowledge of traditional and non-traditional Jamaican and West Indian psychiatric do's and don'ts and treatments make him absolutely fascinating to listen to. He was also a great friend of Dr. Freddie Hickling, a now deceased but great Jamaican psychiatrist, and is made, I think, somewhat in a modern format of his mold, a modern version of a serious thinker and a great teacher. So Dr. Jeffrey Walcott, MBBS, DM Psychiatry, is currently the consultant psychiatrist and clinical director for Psychotherapy Associates Limited and a member of the steering committee and director of the preceptorship program for management of schizophrenia for Janssen Pharmaceutical Latin American and Caribbean. He is well published and has served as a reviewer for 3 international journals and as a guest editor for Frontier in Psychiatry Academic, for the Psychiatry Academic Journal. And he, of course, we know he has presented at multiple clinical conferences locally. He received the Principal's Award from the Ministry of Education for the most outstanding research activity in 2015 and has worked as the consultant psychiatrist in charge of community mental health services for the parishes of Kingston and St. Andrew in the Southeastern Region Health Authority here in Jamaica. So I give you Dr. Jeffrey Walcott to speak on the psychosocial dimensions encountered with a midlife reset. Dr. Walcott, over to you.
Thank you very much. And I want to say, having listened to all the presentations today, I can say that I think my job is going to be a breeze because most of the information has been covered quite eloquently before. It was very interesting when I was asked to do this presentation because the thought is, what do I actually speak on? Because middle age isn't a mental illness, or is it? So the question is, how do I approach this topic? And I thought for a while about what do we really have to look at in terms of transitions, because the middle age period is probably one of the most significant transition periods in our adult life, probably adolescence being the first. but it's really a transition, not so much in just our physical state of being, as we've heard before about the health changes that occur or physical changes that occur, but it also impacts our ability to engage with our emotional states, and most importantly, with our social environment. And so I thought it most fitting to look at the socio-emotional wellness reset and see how do we transition moving from being a young adult to one in the middle ages, and how do we navigate the ever famous and very popularized midlife crisis that is expected to occur during these stages. And so when you look at socio-emotional states, you're really looking at three main pillars. It's emotional regulation, it is interpersonal and social regulation, and self-awareness. So these are the things that we look at. Now, let's look at the defining issue of middle age. Now, I found this very interesting because Prof. Reid started his presentation by alluding to a discrepancy in terms of the actual definition between the Midlife Association and the WHO. One said midlife starts at 35 up to 60, and WHO actually said that the period for midlife is 45 to 65. Now, I will tell you, from a subjective point of view, throughout my clinical years, I will say that my conceptualization of midlife has changed significantly over time. When I was a young medical intern and doctor, midlife started at 30. Now, as I've transitioned, I do believe personally that midlife starts at 50. And in a year or two, I'm going to say that I do believe it starts at 55. Because as soon as I get close to it, then I will try to push it forward. And I think that's probably one of the things that we have to deal with. It's the perceptive view that most people have, the fear of transitioning into this particular genre. And the reason is, it is a change that has to occur, because outside of our physical changes, we also have to bear in mind that our societal expectations, our role and responsibility in society also shifts and changes. And so this stage of life is usually characterized not just by physiological and psychological, but social changes which have to occur that can significantly impact our mental health and well-being if not done properly. And one of the things that I'm talking about is that society is less tolerant of impetuous youthful behavior as you transition into the middle age period, except if you're a politician. So if you're a politician, you will have the privilege of having youthful exuberance for the rest of your life. But for the rest of us, we have to recognize that society looks on us differently, and therefore our behavioral patterns have to shift and adjust to meet those expectations of the social space, which we have to navigate. We do know that globally, it's estimated that approximately 20% of the population falls into the middle age category. And it varies because European countries have a higher percentage as they have a more aging population, while African countries have a lower representation because their population is very, very young. And so let us look at what are some of the signs that we think about. What are the challenges that we have to cover? I think using Erickson's stage of development is probably the most impactful because it actually shows a lot of the pressures that we face going into the midlife or mid ages. The main transitional stage is dealing with the business of generativity versus stagnation. And if you look at what is purported as the midlife crisis, it's really unrest that occurs at this level. It's unrest in your financial status, unrest in your occupational accomplishments, unrest in your interpersonal relationships. And so it's unrest in even the way that you interact with your social space. So you see changes start to occur because you want to break the monotony that has been setting in over time. Because in your middle ages, you have been doing most of the things you've been doing for quite a while. You have developed expertise in various areas. You have developed patterns and routines. And it becomes difficult, especially if those patterns or routines are not as fulfilling as you would like them to be. One of the things I've quite enjoyed recently is going through the social media. One of the new social media apps is a TikTok thing. And one of the things that's very exciting is because they have these little tidbits of one-liners and zingers and beautiful quotes set to music for different emotional states and different scenarios. And I found something while I was going through this presentation that came up. I don't know if the app is listening, I don't care, but it came up and I found it very profound. It says that in the Middle Ages, you recognize that this is where the fantasy of your childhood meets the reality of your existence. And there are two paths. You either have the death of your childhood fantasies or you have the manifestation of your adult reality. And I found that very, very exciting and actually very pertinent to what we have to discuss, because it's about dealing with the business of actually reshaping or restructuring who you are at this stage in life and what legacy you're going to leave behind. Because as you go through the stage of generativity and stagnation, it really focuses more on you becoming a positive contributor to the society and about what you leave for the next generation. And that comes off the heel of going through the stage of acquisition. So you're moving from a stage of acquisition to one where it's no longer about what you can get and what you can take, but what are you giving back? And so if persons are able to go through that transition and are able to properly navigate it, they can end up with a very fulfilling sense of self and a very healthy transition as they go into the older ages. Right? And of course, Maslow's hierarchy of needs changes at this age because the focus is less so much on your instant gratification and your basic needs, but more so on achieving esteem needs and aiming for self-actualization. And successful navigation of needs influence overall well-being and life satisfaction at this stage. And one of the most critical tools or one of the most critical exercises that we can do to be able to achieve these resolutions is actually to ensure that we have a strong social support system as well as a very active and interactive social network. Because at this stage in life, it's about your connectivity that is the most important. It's about how you connect to others, how you impact the lives of others around us. Because you're looking for fulfillment in a sense of purpose. What does your life mean? What has your life meant? And you only get that from understanding how you relate and the impact you've had on the lives of others. Not so much from material possessions and material acquisitions. So the transition can bring about identity reevaluation, shifts in roles, such as persons becoming caregivers for elder parents. Individuals might experience feelings of uncertainty and a desire of personal fulfillment and success. And again, when dealing with things like the monotony of work, the monotony of your financial status, persons can become very distressed and can become very, very restive and wanting to move and change the pattern of their lives, because what they see is the life that they're currently living is what they will then settle for, or that will be what defines them throughout the rest of their lives. And so it's often a time of great change. So there's a discrepancy in terms of the ideal self and your actual self that comes to the fore in your middle ages. Now, if you work through any form of addiction counseling, you realize that discrepancy is actually a very useful tool to motivate transition and motivate change if it is handled properly. Because the discrepancy that you see can help to guide you as to how to actually take the steps to achieve your ideal sense of self, your ideal life, your ideal accomplishments. However, if not handled well, discrepancies can lead to feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, worthlessness. And as I list them out, you see the cascading connection to mental illness and mental disorders. And probably one of the most common mental disorders that people struggle with at this stage is, in fact, feelings of depression, usually brought on by feelings of failure, worthlessness, and hopelessness. So what are some of the crisis factors that contribute to this so-called midlife crisis? Often they are triggered by a range of factors, including unmet life goals, physical aging. Your body is no longer able to do the things that you want to do, and your body is actually changing. Now, again, let me draw back on the social media thing because it's quite entertaining. I see a lot of videos of Gen Xers and persons in their mid-ages purporting of how young they look. And oh, they're aging like fine wine, they look young. And Not gonna lie. Some people look great, but you don't look young. You look your age. You look young only to people who are your age. But if you ask a 20-year-old or 80-year-old or even a young child, if you look young, the answer is no. So I think that is part of the confusion and part of the disconnect that we have in terms of accepting our physical changes. We can still look good, but we don't look young, right? And we also have to contend with the loss of vitality. Now is not the time for us to be expending energy into frivolous things for material acquisition. Now is the time to actually be able to value the time that we have and spend it in more fulfilling ways by connecting to others and actually making positive contributions to our communities, our society, and our country, and the world in general. We also have the period of existential reflection, social changes, such as kids leaving the home, find ourselves with both time and money that we don't know what to do with. More so time, less so money in this economy, but still, it might be some. And again, and this is important because I saw a question that came up that people always say, tell you to invest, but nobody shows you how to do it. And the reality is, because there are experts who do it for you, and there are experts who guide you. So it's not something that you can. There are people who went to school for years and years to learn how to invest, and you should always draw on the expertise of experts. So part of the issue is, if you have more time and more money, you should then spend the time connecting with people with expertise in various fields to help you achieve your objective and goals that you want for your life as it goes along, right? Career transitions can amplify feelings of dissatisfaction and instability, especially if you are moving into a new career path that does not necessarily equate to where you were before, because some persons have to move backward before they move forward, or you're starting out new ventures, which can be scary. Usually at this age, entrepreneurial endeavors tend to flourish, and it can be a very, 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 very distressing and emotionally tumultuous time in your life when you're going through these fluctuations, especially in terms of finances. And going into any form of business or entrepreneurial activity will cause you that. That's a fact. So dealing with those things and uncertainty becomes more pronounced and more prominent in our day-to-day life. Having a balance between your work career dynamics, shifting career satisfaction, financial stress, feelings of regret and unfulfillment, leading to increased anxiety about where you need to go and what you need to do. And all of these things come out because it is about trying to gain control of your life, which has basically just been going from one speed to the next. And now you're forced, both physically, psychologically, and emotionally, to slow down. And when you're slowing down, you have more time to be reflective and introspective of where you actually are, and to actually be more connected to your sense of who you are. Your self-awareness increases. And oftentimes that can also pose some level of distress, because we have to be guided by the fact that the way we see ourselves and the way we project ourselves, not necessarily the same as how others see us. And as we slow down and we start to interact and get feedback, realize that our personal projections are completely different from the way we think they are. And we have to learn to accept that, or to change it if we are dissatisfied with it. All right. Physical health changes. I think were discussed in presentations before. We have issues in terms of chronic illnesses may emerge, decreased physical capabilities, and we have to especially pay close attention at this stage to our physical health. We have to become very close with our physicians, doing our regular checkups, because this is a period where you are able to catch things early. You don't catch things early in youth because nothing happens to them. They're invulnerable and they live forever, apparently. But this is the age where we start having to grasp and deal with the business of our mortality and also of our vitality, because we are present with real threats at this stage that we have to be mindful of. And so our health-seeking behavior has to change. Our entire perceptive view of risk, of danger, and of health has to transform, where we have to become more self-aware, more responsible, and more engaging in our own care and maintenance. And we have to pay attention to that. All right. Relationship evaluations, we hear about a lot of dissolutions of personal relationships, including marriages, which often is one of the main causes of the so-called midlife crisis at this stage, is the dissolution of a marriage, and that tends to leading to almost a reversion to adolescent type behavior, which is what is seen classically, and is one of the main driving forces of the dissatisfaction, is unresolved familial conflicts that existed in relationships that are just left to amplify over time, where you have persons who just leave the relationship to go neutral, and they don't seek help to resolve the problems that they're having, and over time they manifest and become untenable, right? Feelings of isolation and crisis during this life stage is also very critical, because in this moment we find that the persons are developed at different stages, and sometimes feelings of shame or this uncertainty in your own sense of success can lead persons to be isolated and withdraw from their social space, and that is very problematic, because at this age social connectivity is the most important thing to maintaining mental health and well-being, because it is what gives you a sense of perspective. It's what facilitates the introspection. And it's also what gives you a sense of accomplishment when you realize that the things that you are struggling with or dealing with, there are lots of other people who are doing that as well, and that people have similar goals and reflections. And you actually can feel comforted by the fact that people will connect with you and share with you how you have inspired them, how you have impacted their life. And that brings you a sense of existential fulfillment, which at this stage is one of the most important things. Okay? Suggestive activities, we cannot say this enough. Every time people ask me about the secret to long life and health, I tell them it's not a secret, but nobody does it. Physical exercise and activities, staying physically healthy and fit. And it doesn't require to become a Usain Bolt, even though that might be useful. It doesn't require to be excessive in exercise. What it requires from you is for you to be consistent. And here go the problem. People often take on these fantastic New Year resolution phenomena where they go to the gym in droves and they have this zest of energy and fervor, and it dies done before January, right? Same thing with the diets. You change to this healthy diet and it lasts a week until you hit one of those froyo places with the yogurt and the tasty little sugar treats. The problem is not that these things don't work. The problem is that they don't work in the way most people think they do. They don't work until you reach your goal and then you stop. Dietary changes are permanent. For you to gain the benefits from a dietary change, that dietary change has to be permanent. You have to change your eating pattern permanently. Exercise regimes have to be permanent. So it is better for you to walk 45 minutes or 30 minutes a day, every day for the rest of your life, than to spend 6 months getting into the best shape of your life and then never exercise again. It's about consistency, and that's very, very important. Building your social networks and seeking therapy also contributes to better coping strategies and emotional resilience. And we often have a problem when it comes to seeking psychological and mental health from mental health experts, because there's a stigmatization, as one lovely patient of mine once said to me, that despite the fact that she's having sadness, not eating, not sleeping, having all these problems, and not able to function, she doesn't need to take medication because she's clearly not mad. Again, stigma is something that we have to overcome, and health-seeking behavior is something that we have to address, because we have to put things in motion now actively to deal with the real threats that we face. So dealing with things like sadness, dealing with things like anxiety, feelings of isolation. And at this age, luckily, you have associations and organizations or formal social spaces that you can engage with that usually helps for your connectivity for those persons who may be a little inept in the social space. So people join service clubs, they join churches, they join associations like this, for example, that has a common goal and can help its members to actually transition through this period of their lives and develop emotional resistance. The business of mindfulness and meditation, we recently, well, not recently, but over the years, psychiatry has had a fantastic fervor and drive in going back into some of the ancient Eastern practices. And we found that mindfulness techniques are very, very useful. Doesn't mean that you have to join a yoga class. You can do Tai Chi, or you can go on YouTube and just focus on doing some simple mindfulness and meditation exercises, and they can help promote sense of calm and clarity, especially in periods of crisis and trauma. Social support systems cannot ever not emphasize this as much as possible. Your social connectivity is most critical. As human beings, said that the one thing that separates from the animal kingdom is our opposable thumbs, but the one thing that actually separates us is the fact that we are capable of sharing knowledge, experience over time and distance. We connect with people, so we have a common pool of knowledge that we can draw on that is far greater than any individual person's knowledge. And that is very critical to help us to navigate the challenges that we face, because there's nothing new under the sun, and you can learn from someone else's experience. And that is what has propelled our society to this phenomenal state of industrial and technological advancement. So we have to again recognize the value and importance of connecting to others. Finding creative outlets, engaging in creative activities such as art, writing, or music serves as a powerful tool for expressing emotions and processing feelings. And it also serves as an outlet that can foster self-reflection and lead to personal growth during challenging times, as well as the fact that it's fun. Throughout my years, I have never been fond of the creative arts. I've always had an apprehension to it. And recently, as I have transitioned to this new stage of life, recently, no matter how long it is, it's still recent, I found an entire love and joy of the art of singing. Now, I do it badly, but there's a place that you can go do it badly, which is where I often go to the places where they do karaoke. And I find that singing badly over time fills you with such joy and emotional fulfillment. It's fantastic. Never felt like this before. It's important to connect to your creative side at this stage. It will help you to actually become more self-aware, less self-conscious, and it does phenomenally well for your self-esteem, because you recognize that even though you sing really, really badly, people applaud you and tell you you're doing a great job. Almost right. Now, middle age, common mental disorders, as we've said before, and we recognize what they are. They are anxiety, depression, and more critically, substance abuse. And when people think substance abuse, they often miss the main gorilla, elephant, everything in the room. The biggest substance problem we have in this world is alcohol. And it's a huge problem in this country, especially as you're going to the middle age. It's the cause of domestic violence, cause of motor vehicle accidents, suicide, and diminishing health. And that's a very, very big problem. So we have to be able to recognize some of these illnesses, recognize and mitigate the impact that stress has on these persons, and be able to recognize the symptoms. If you're having sadness for 2 weeks or more and your life just does not bring you joy, something is wrong with you and you need to seek professional help. It's not a matter of riding it out and seeing if it will go away. It won't. You have to get treatment. Treatment options are usually very simple and straightforward. We have pharmacological treatment, psychological treatment, and social interventions for all the illnesses. Again, the importance, social therapy is very, very critical. And you cannot ever underestimate the impact that having a healthy social support system can have in your own sense of well-being and the well-being of the others around you. All right, promoting mental wellness, regular exercise, mindfulness practices, hobbies, just to summarize, and these practices can reduce stress, enhance overall well-being in middle-aged individuals and in all individuals in particular, but especially in those in the middle age. Go to your doctor often, because things go wrong at this age. Things stop working, and you don't want to only go there when they stop working. You want to go there before and ensure that you can prevent them from stop working. Set enough on that. Do it often. Regular checkups. Mental disorders in this particular age group is problematic because a lot of it remains underdiagnosed and undertreated because persons do not seek health, do not have proper health-seeking behavior, and they do not prioritize their mental health and well-being. And at this stage, they are more reflective and, again, living the impetuousness of youth, which is wealth acquisition. Now is not a time to focus on that. It's to focus on your connectivity with the wider society. Ensuring individuals can navigate your midlife crisis successfully is mainly based on how strong you are able to form your support system and your support network, and how able you are to recognize and fix things that may be going wrong as quickly as possible. And whether it's mental illness, physical illness, chronic disease, everything, a stitch in time saves nine. And this is where our age group comes in, because we know all of these sayings. We have to put them in practice now. Thank you very much. I hope I was within the time. I think I was.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Walcott. And here I am with a headache. I have a headache because it's just been so major what you have said. You know, this is the time of the greatest pull-up, the greatest transformation, the greatest changes. It's not from adolescent to adulthood. It's not from childhood to adolescence, but it is now. It is in this midlife time when the only reason why you are able to go through this well is because you have some amount of maturity and experience to life. Because this whole idea of needing to, you know, the need for connections, non-ending, and the reassessing of your whole life. Many of us, who among us actually, you know, we have these big goals. Who among us achieves them? So therefore, the majority of us are left with some feelings of inadequacy as to how we have traversed the years of our life. And so we are left here with a great need to find out how to prevent depression. Or this interconnectivity you have spoken about might be how we do it through our friends, through interactions, when we exercise, interactions, when we go to church, talking. But what is the best bet? What is the best way through this crisis that you have exposed this evening? Because it is a crisis time and many of us go through it and not well. So back to you with that question.
Well, one of the things I find very intriguing, right, that when you look at how human beings transition, we spend a lot of our young adult life, right, intensely investing time to get money so that we can buy expensive things. And as we transition in this stage, what we realize is that the most expensive thing that we can have is access to our time, because this is a time where we have to come to the realization that our time is finite and it's limited. And so the focus has to shift. It's no longer about acquiring things and spending your life on the treadmill of work to get somewhere, but it's about how do you ensure that every single minute of every single day is spent in the highest level of quality, and that you maximize everything that you can get from the time that you're spending doing the things you want to do, getting the things you want to have, and being with the people you want to be with. And I think that's where the transition comes in, because at this stage, the focus has to be on quality of time. And it's about the realization that what you've been wasting running around in circles to try and buy this and buy that is actually the most valuable thing you have. Again, I love the TikTok era. It's fantastic. There's a story about this guy that he's making an offer. He says, listen, what if I could give you 10 billion US dollars today? And the man said, yeah, but the catch is, if you get the 10 billion US dollars today, you die tomorrow in the morning. And the man said, no, I don't want that. And the man said, even for $10 billion, you're not willing to give up your life after the next day just to enjoy 10 billion. No. And you understand just from that, no amount of money in the world is worth more valuable than your time. We all want the time, and we all want the time to enjoy what we have. Even if you tell a homeless man and give him the same option, he's not going to take the $10 billion because he could be homeless on the street. But the promise of what can happen tomorrow is still greater than everything else. So we have to realize the greatest thing that we have to enjoy in life is the life we have. And the way we do spend it, doing the things that we do, connecting to the people we connect with, because that's what it is. It's about connectivity. Human experience is really about how do we connect to the larger society and how do we impact the species on a whole.
Well, here you go. The fantasy of childhood meeting the reality of our single
Existence.
and not joint existence at this point in time. Reshape and restructure. So, Sam, over to you with questions.
Hi, Doc. Sure. Questions. Not seeing any. Hold on, Dr. Walcott. Is beer big up here I get?
Questions are in the chat.
We really are asking persons to put the questions in the Q&A. However, let me see if I can find one. Seen a lot of question here. What about insomnia and midlife? Why is it so difficult to resolve?
So, and this is kind of paradoxical, right? Because as you get older, you need less sleep. And that can be a little tricky because that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be sleeping well. But as you get older, your actual physical need for sleep is less. So as a baby, it's 16 to 24, 23 hours or some crazy thing. You settle down to about 8 hours. But as you get older, past 40, you can quite healthily settle on 6 hours throughout the night. And one of the things you have to recognize is if there's a change in your sleep pattern, where there's an acute change in your sleep pattern, that may be indicative that there's something else that's happening, whether it's an anxiety disorder or a depressive disorder that's coming on board. There are things that you can do on, again, YouTube. Social media is phenomenal. It's the greatest tool since sliced bread. I swear. YouTube has these wonderful videos on sleep hygiene, practices that you can practically implement in your day-to-day routine that can actually help to reduce insomnia. Certain things, well, like leaving the phone out of bed, ensuring you have your eating is not 2 hours before bedtime, ensuring that you are hydrated, ambient temperature control, only going into the bed when you're ready to sleep, doing meditation exercise to help you regulate your breathing and slow your breathing to help you to pass into a sleep state. There are lots of information. Like, we are in a phenomenal time. There's nothing that you do not want to know that you cannot know just on the tip of your fingers. It's phenomenal.
Thank you, Doc. If there are no more questions, then I will return us to Dr. Lisa Kervin-Dawes. Dr. Dawes, over to you.
Sorry, I didn't. I
That's
tried to
okay.
unmute and I didn't. Can we turn this
That's
over
okay.
to Dr. William Brown, who is our president, and he will give us the summary and the closing remarks. Dr. Brown?
Yes, a very long afternoon indeed. We're running about half hour late, but that's okay. As you know, an afternoon well spent with our speakers. We started with Prof. Reid, who spoke about risk factors, which can extend our lives and our life cycle. Very good initiation, a bit long, but it was okay. Dr. Kathy Ann Pate continued why midlife matters. She spoke a little about verbal memory reduction. Mental processing goes down, and she spoke about a number of cardiovascular diseases. She emphasized that menopause is not the driver of our distresses. So we shouldn't think about that. And that is a decline in memory. We gain weight, there are metabolic changes, social connection go down, something goes up, our diet, activity to protect recognition. And that silence, it says something about silence, changes begin in midlife. So the brain may have little brain infarcts, which could lead to stroke down the line. So we need to readjust our health focus at midlife, looking at our lifestyles and cancer prevention and all that. She spoke about biological and psychological transition, men's health, they're seeking health-seeking behavior to increase their checkups, supportive friendships, which was echoed in most of our presentation today, the early interaction, trauma, rehydration, sleep, and that midlife is not a window of opportunity. It's a window of opportunity, not a crisis. So we should choose to be happy, be active, and be deliberate in our actions. Then the financial part came. Mrs. Pat Henry Brown spoke about income generation, financial challenge at midlife, spoke about the transitions that you'll be there looking at your children or weaning them off and still looking after your parents, and the healthcare costs and the cost of living, financial pressure, the debts. So at that time, we should be looking at lowering debts. It's about accruing financial pressure and lifestyle upgrades. Stressors should be eliminated. And she went on to speak about financial reset, why it is crucial, and life changes, financial goal changes. Your money, align your money with your priorities, maximize income while you reduce debts for financial freedom. And strategic finances, financial management versus reactive. Sometimes we just react to certain financial pressures instead of being strategic and plan ahead. He also spoke about the 50-30-20 formula and warned us about the credit card misuse to protect our assets, and our health actually is our greatest asset. So we should protect our health and insure it through medical checkups and all that. And don't allow perfection to stop progress. Don't allow perfection to stop progress. And then Mrs. Magdalena, the news Cooper, came and she spoke about primary source of personal and family wealth. She went into detail, generational wealth and inheritance management. She spoke about retirement savings, benefits plans, about NIS, NHT, old age disability, and survivor death benefits as annuity. Very interesting, a little bit confusing, but we have the opportunity to link up with her to understand more of this area. For one that was asking, what's the difference between trust and a will? And she attempted to answer that, but I need more information. So from there, we look at Dr. Walcott, who went into midlife transition, is the most important transition from adolescence. And during that time, our social expectations may change. We'll be more responsible. We have behavioral habits have to change, but we have challenges. Now the challenges are generativity versus stagnation. Either you stagnate or you generate. You create and nurture. You contribute positively to society, and you become a guiding principle to the next generation. And again, the fantasy of the childhood versus the reality of adulthood, that reshaping and leaving a legacy behind. He emphasized that this is a stage that we have to be, we have acquired enough, so we should give back to society, right? And he spoke about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, with self-actualization be the most important, not the basic needs of food, shelter, and that kind of thing. That we need a strong social interaction, we need connectivity, and how you impact others is more important, the sense of purpose on life, others. Identity reevaluation, shifting roles, personal fulfillment, and feelings of failure and worthlessness. Worthlessness that can lead to depression. He emphasized that We may look good at 60 or at 55, but we are not young, you know. Some of us think we are still young. He spoke about unmet goals, life goals at this time of life, physical aging, loss of vitality, existential reflection. That has happened to me recently. May have more money but less time, or less time, more money. In this case, you have more time and more money will be good, you know. Career transitions may be satisfying and unstable, and that can all lead to depression. Balance between your work and career dynamics. He spoke about self-awareness increases that we have to be aware of. Solutions. He highlighted a few: physical activity to be consistent, engaging in hobbies, new ones, old ones, practicing mindfulness, yoga, etc., building social networks, and seeking treatment to better cope with these strategies, and emotional resilience that we get from these piece of advice from our doctors and our healthcare professionals. Meditation was one of them. The social support systems versus isolation, all right? And that we have to have creative outlets. Interesting. If you have more time, you should have more time to have creative outlets. And then he mentioned substance abuse, the most important being alcohol abuse. Overall, it has been a very good afternoon of information. And I think our attendees and participants have gathered a lot of information for the journey towards the midlife, during the midlife, and beyond. Thank you very much, all. Thank you. Lisa,
Thank you so much, Dr. Brown. I think we now do the vote of thanks. Is the Honorary Secretary with us, Charlene?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Honorable Secretary. Over to you.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Today marks the second of a new series of JMHS webinars for 2025, and we are delighted that you took the time from your busy schedule to join us as we focused on the theme, Midlife Reset, the challenges, strategies, and solutions. Where am I? During the presentations, we examined the physical, financial, generational wealth planning, as well as psychosocial dimensions of the midlife journey. Our thanks to Mr. Alton Lawrence, JMHS member who offered the opening prayer, Dr. Arna Brown Morgan for giving opening remarks, Professor Marvin Reid, President-elect of the MAJ and former President of the CCFP, for the official opening of the webinar and his overview of Healthy Reset and things intrinsic to our lifestyles, looking more closely at our environment and nutrition. Dr. Jacqueline Campbell, host of Pouring Your Health on My apologies. Sorry. Thanks to our committed president, Dr. William Brown, whose welcoming address was as impactful as always. Our sincere appreciation is also extended to our distinguished webinar speakers who provided much needed and valuable information as they delved into the various topics on the challenges, strategies, and solutions to address the intricacies of midlife. To our moderators, thank you for your efficient service and expertise. Our invaluable dedicated sponsors and partners, Servicare Distributors Limited, Abbott Nutrition, High-Tech MDRL Limited, Dolphin Pharmacy, Indus Life Sciences PVT Limited, Apex Radiology, BethMed Pharma Limited, Jamaica Observer. Our thanks and appreciation also to Power 106 FM for granting us a slot on their program. Also to RJ Communications Group, who also hosted us on their program Palav. To our hardworking dynamic organizing committee, who worked assiduously to ensure this webinar success. To Oldgate Solutions, or IT webinar specialists, for their continued exemplary, dedicated, and professional online services to the JMHS. Appreciation also to Dr. Brown for his well-presented summary and closing remarks. In conclusion, we give our gratitude to God for his presence and guidance throughout the entire process. And in closing, we now transfer again to Mr. Alton Lawrence, who will provide the closing prayers. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for joining us on this our second webinar, and we sincerely hope that you will be able to join us for the third and final webinar in the series for this year, scheduled for Sunday, 12 October 2025, where we'll be looking at menopause and andropause. May the Lord bless and keep you and grant you his peace. Thank you.
Dear Lord, your words declare that it is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord. We therefore come before you with hearts full of gratitude and praise to thank you for your guiding hand in making this symposium a resounding success. Father, we thank you for the strength and vision of our organizers, the wisdom of our moderators, and the knowledge and inspiration of our presenters. We thank you, Lord, for all our members in attendance and those who continually support this society in a variety of ways. Lord, through this symposium, you have blessed us with new knowledge and power to rise above our challenges and to reset our lives for improved health and wellness. And for this, we give thanks. May the success of this day, Lord, remind us of your faithfulness and your presence and interest in our daily lives. We ask that you continue, Lord, to guide the growth and strengthening of the Jamaica Midlife Health Society, and for new inspiration and energy for the team to go above and beyond and to expand its reach and impact in the nation. We thank you, Lord, for new members, additional sponsors, and volunteers in both cash and kind. Lord, with gratitude and praise, we thank you for all these many blessings. In the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Praise God. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen and amen. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Congrats, JMHS, and we look forward to seeing you in October for the third installment of the series. Have a great day.
God bless you, Sam, for all the work you have done. God
Thank
bless
you.
you.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you.
Everyone, take care.
Thanks
Bye.
everyone for attending today. Thanks, JMHS staff. It's been such a